Drive time. Wednesday afternoon. What's going on? 5 minutes past the hour, 2 o'clock. How about 78 degrees and sunny here in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah, right outside of our Broadway Media Studios. It is a March day that quite frankly feels like May. It is gorgeous. Hopefully you're out and about doing something fun outside, playing golf, walking the dog, taking a hike, listening to us on the app. But if you're driving around town, making your way throughout the course of your day, we appreciate you making us a part of it. Spence Checketts behind the mic, Porter Larson producing the program today behind the glass. Good guest list. Pumped for our guest list today. As the madness of March is here, the NCAA tournament begins tomorrow. You know, we haven't done our yearly check-in on Porter to see if he's still deciding to die on the hill that the play-in games are actually part of the tournament. So we're going to do that at some point today. They're not. Let's be clear. They're not. So the NCAA tournament starts tomorrow. We know who BYU will play. It is Texas. Two really good games last night. Two really close games last night in the play-in tournament to get into the tournament. Now, we'll see what happens throughout the course of the rest of today. But last night, Howard, DC's own, got their first tournament win in the history of that program. So a pretty cool moment there. And then, you know, it was funny. I had Ken Pomeroy on yesterday. Ken is a college basketball savant. He said Howard UMBC would be a low-scoring battle and Texas NC State would be a high-scoring affair. It was the exact opposite. I bring that up to underscore how little any of us really know about how this is going to go down. Texas beat NC State 68-66. Neither team shot the ball well at all. And both these teams are actually two very good shooting teams, two very good offensive teams. And then Howard 86-83. They looked like for a minute they were running away with it, but UMBC was able to make it interesting. Today's games will be Prairie View A&M and Lehigh out of the South region, and then Miami of Ohio and SMU, which should be an interesting game. Now, Miami of Ohio was undefeated. They were 30-0 before losing the final game of their conference tournament. SMU's a pretty solid team, so that should be a good one tonight. Keep you up to date on everything that kind of comes down our way when you look at how the bracket's shaping up as it pertains to BYU taking on Texas. That is in Portland on Friday. We will preview that game. BYU, the line came out. BYU's favored by 1.5 points. 1.5 points, BYU's favorite over Texas. Ken Pom has BYU as a 3-point favorite in that game. And, of course, most likely to advance to take on Gonzaga, their old West Coast Conference rival, unless Kennesaw State can rise up and have something to say about that. Our friends up north, Utah State Aggies, preparing to take on Villanova. They're getting a couple of points at last check in the sports books. The Aggies are a slight favorite. So, the Madness of March is here. Great time of year. We'll do a lot of college basketball on the show today. Help you fill out your brackets and remind you that you can fill out one on our website and play against me, play against Porter, play against James, play against Sean, play against Gordy. Richard Smith. Smitty does not like fun things, so he's refusing to fill out a bracket. But you can play against all of us. A weird situation is happening in Milwaukee. I know you guys want to dig into the Milwaukee sports scene today, but the Bucks are trying to shut down Giannis, and he wants to play, which I think is really cool because we live in this day and age of plenty of star basketball players just not wanting to play, not wanting to even travel if they have something to say about it. Speaking of which, the Salt Lake City Stars are in Minnesota tonight to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Says Utah Jazz on the front of the jersey. See if Anderson Garcia can give Rudy Gobert some fits. Yeah, there's a sentence I thought I'd be saying in March about NBA basketball, but the Jazz are back in action tonight. Reminder, tomorrow we have a short show because the Utah women are taking on EKU in a tournament. It's not the NCAA tournament. If you've never heard me say this before, let me reset it. I'm not trying to Gavin Peterson's a friend of the show. He's the sweetest guy. I'm not trying to diminish anything. If you're not in the NCAA tournament, and it's not a women's tournament thing. If BYU or Utah qualifies for the CBI or whatever, best of luck, high five. But, it's not on the radar. First time since 2018, none of our local women's teams qualified for the NCAA tournament. Scenes last night in Miami. Holy smokes. So did you guys watch the World Baseball Classic? Venezuela beats the United States after Bryce Harper hit a 2-run home run in the 8th inning to tie the game. 3-2 is your final. Mammoth off tonight. Back in action tomorrow, taking on Vegas. So a lot going on. We'll continue to kind of intertwine yesterday's fun opportunity for us media schlubs up on the Hill to sit with Morgan Scalley and the Utah football coaches to learn about their process and learn about what's kind of going on up there. Really good feel in the building, I can say that. And Morgan's ready for this challenge. Speaking of which, on Friday, 3:30, this program, Morgan Scalley will stop by. The Boston Celtics are taking on the Golden State Warriors tonight. The Celtics are 4-1 since the return of Jason Tatum. The only loss they have is to the San Antonio Spurs. The Lakers will try to keep their hot streak alive against the Rockets tonight. Duke is going to be without their starting center for round one. Obviously, Cameron Boozer kind of makes them go. The Red Rocket has been traded. The Philadelphia Eagles have acquired Andy Dalton, who somehow is still holding on and playing football. So, of course, the NFL offseason kind of permeating throughout the show with one eye ahead to the NFL draft, which is just a matter of weeks away. RSL will be on the road this weekend for a tough one. San Diego is an expansion franchise, had a really good year last year. They spent a grip of money in the offseason. They're really good. RSL still trying to get fully healthy. We'll talk a little soccer on the show today. But they are 3-1, a 3-1 start for the Claret and Cobalt, because on this show we bleed Claret and Cobalt. Shout out to those who know. So we'll get to a little RSL on the show. We are just a handful of weeks away from the World Cup, too. Going to be a fun summer with the World Cup in our region. All right. Our first guest right out of the gates, our college football genius, savant, insider, expert, Chris Cambrani. I say that because he hates it. CK wrote a piece on BYU basketball, actually, that I read this morning when it came out, and dug into that. Really good job, as always, because Chris is really good at what he does. He's a master at his craft. So bounce around with CK today in studio for an hour, have a little fun on a Wednesday. We'll preview BYU, Texas, and talk a little spring football with Spencer Linton from BYU TV. The head coach of the head coach of Real Salt Lake is Pablo Mastroeni. He'll stop by today to enlighten, inform, and educate, illuminate, entertain. And then the program takes a dark twist in the wrong direction with Dave Fox. Chris Cambrani, Spencer Linton, Pablo Mastroeni, Dave Fox, me, Spence Checketts. Hello, how are you? All of you, the great listeners. And that guy, stubborn play-in NCAA tournament hot take guy, is Porter Larson. Are you off your hot take? Are you ready to join the rest of us, or are you gonna maintain?
I'm gonna maintain that it's not really a hot take. The names are announced on Selection Sunday. It's a field of 68, as we know. It is a tournament game in which you advance and you have a chance to win the NCAA tournament. I know there's an asterisk maybe. But no, I'm still on that ship.
Did you fill out a bracket?
Not yet.
Okay, when you fill out a bracket, will you have picked these teams in the first 4 games in?
I usually pick one of them to advance, so I wait until they play, only because I'm allowed, not because I don't believe it's a tournament game.
So why?
Just to be clear.
So why do they call these games the first 4 games and not part of the NCAA tournament?
Because of the first 4 games of the NCAA tournament.
No. The tournament starts when the field is set and the brackets go out and everybody fills out a bracket, and literally nobody picks these first 4 games because they're not part of the tournament. We do this every year.
Right, but maybe not branded as part of the tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
But by definition, literally,
no.
If they win, they advance. If they lose, they go home.
Yeah, and they're not in the tournament. If they win, they get to play in the NCAA tournament.
What is the difference between just not having a bye, say, in if you get a higher seed?
There are no byes. That doesn't exist.
Actually, there are 64 byes.
There are 0 byes. This is a straw man argument, and you've lost it again for the 4th or 5th straight year. This is the first. They're the first 4 games, and the winners get to play in the NCAA tournament. The losers do not get to play in the tournament. And did you know, just to solidify this, the winners of the first 4 in do not get to count the win as a win in the NCAA tournament. It is not on the record.
They should.
But they don't.
I think we should examine that.
Okay, write a strongly worded letter to the committee to see if you can get that done.
I know the NCAA gets everything right.
Yeah, it's true.
But I don't think they got that one right.
Okay, beyond being extremely wrong about this, other than that, how's your Wednesday?
It's great. It's great. Halfway through the week, we have, whether you consider it tournament basketball or not, we have the Thursday in which we get games all day long coming up tomorrow. It's the best time of the year. If you're a hoops fan, it's the best time of the year. I think if you're a sports fan, from February to like April. So we're all in. Golf, hoops, pro days at the University of Utah tomorrow. So even some football for you as well.
Will you be up at Pro Day tomorrow?
Hell yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we'll have complete coverage of Pro Day for you guys tomorrow for the Utah football players who are trying to make their way into pro basketball.
Maybe I'll run a 40. I don't know.
Please do. I would love to see that. What do you think you can clock right now?
So when I was doing the Pro Day stuff, prepping with Covey and the guys, I did run a high 4.7, which is fairly respectable.
That's very good.
I got to be clear. It was like I didn't want to start in the 3-point stance, so I got like a little yard extra where you're already kind of moving. But I can move a little bit. I think now it's going to be tough. I might be closer to 5 or more. I've lost a few steps and gained 15 pounds, so probably not going that quick.
You're not gained 15 pounds. What are you talking about?
I'm 190 right now.
When did that happen?
Last year. Breakfast burrito year. It's not like a terrible 15 pounds. I'm just trying to eat as much as I can and continue to lift a little bit.
See, the weird thing, when you see somebody every day, you do not notice whether or not they lose or gain weight. You don't look any different to me outside of the bald head after you shave the lettuce.
Unless they start taking testosterone.
Game Day Men's Health.
Shut up.
I mean, day over day, man. Our good friends at Game Day Men's Health. All right. Chris Camerani, first guest live in studio. But before CK stops by, courtesy of our good friends, your good friends too, at Prize Picks, it is time now for your opening tip.
Welcome to The Drive with Spence Checketts on Utah's #1 sports talk. Now into the studios of ESPN 700 to set the scene for the show. The opening tip of The Drive is brought to you by Prize Picks. Use the code ESPN 700 with Prize Picks.
NCAA tournament is here. Shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. Prize Picks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every diamond, every board that much more exciting. Don't miss the chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. It is available in Utah. You guys are in the clear there. They've got a new feature. They've got early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the promo code ESPN700 to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Promo code ESPN700 to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, because on Prize Picks, it is good to be right. All right, we know the opponent for BYU. It is the Texas Longhorns. Utah State will take on Villanova. Sadly, Utah will watch from home. So, good game last night between Texas and NC State. Well, I'll say close game last night. Both teams looked really nervous. These two teams have a couple of things in common. Number one, they're actually really good offensively. NC State, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. Texas is the number 18 rated offense in the country, but you would not have known it last night. It went the exact opposite that we thought it was going to, based off the game they played in November in Maui, 102-97. Texas won that game. Last night, 68-66. If you took the over, you weren't close. And quite frankly, it was just a battle of Texas on the boards. They were able to out-rebound NC State by 12. They had 8 more offensive rebounds. They lost the turnover battle by 5. They shot 37% from the floor, 29% from 3, and still won the basketball game. The Matis Vokalitatis, the big kid, he leads the NCAA in free throw attempts, I believe. He had 12 free throws last night, made 7 of them. Dallin Swain, who's probably their best player, 8 of 9 from the line. They went 21 of 29 from the free throw line and plus 7 there. That's essentially how they won. Darian Williams, who's a Texas Tech transfer, BYU fans know him. He put it on BYU a couple of different times. Didn't get a lot of help. He had 21 points, but the next highest score was 16. Really, it was a three-man attack, and Texas was able to hold on. I actually think this is a better matchup for BYU than NC State would have been. NC State, again, you would not have known it last night. They shot 6 of 16 from three, 38%. They usually get more threes up. Texas was doing a good job of chasing them off the three-point line. They usually make more three-point shots than they did last night. Now, the interesting part about this matchup, even though I think Texas is probably a better matchup for BYU than NC State is, I was surprised to see the line open with BYU -1. BYU is a 1.5-point favorite, okay, as of right now, to beat Texas. Ken Pom has BYU favored by 3 and giving them a 60% chance to win. Now, a lot of this is going to come down to whether or not the recent run of play by BYU can be sustained. Their defense has been better. After Richie got hurt, it was a sieve, and that was their biggest issue. They're going to have enough offensively because AJ is the best offensive player in college basketball. He leads the NCAA in points per game, just broke Kevin Durant's record for points in the Big 12 tournament, just broke Zion Williamson's record for points scored in the first 2 games in a tournament of your career. And, Rob Wright is a wizard with the basketball. Gordy Chiesa joined us yesterday and broke this down pretty well in so many ways. Because, again, Texas isn't great defensively, but they've got 2 or 3 athletes that they can at least run at AJ DeBonsa to try to wear him out a little bit. So they're going to, as Gordy said yesterday, they're going to sell out on AJ. We're going to see a box in 1. We're going to see a triangle in 2 with Texas guarding Rob Wright and AJ DeBonsa specifically. If you're BYU, this is going to come down to whether or not some of these fringe players can make jump shots, wide open jump shots, because they're going to get open jump shots. And when you look at the games where they've been able to have success since Richie Saunders got hurt, you know what you're going to get from AJ. You're going to get 25 to 30 from AJ. For them to do anything special in this tournament, AJ's probably going to have to go for 30 to 35 every single night. That's a lot to ask of a teenager, but if anyone can do it, it's that kid. You know what you're going to get from Rob Wright more often than not. Can the Alexei Kostic kid knock down a couple of threes? Kennard Davis Jr. Like against Houston, Kennard Davis was 1 of 8 from the floor, 0 of 5 from 3. BYU lost by 7. You get that kid to knock down a couple of shots, this is a different game. Off the bench, Boscovich from time to time has gotten, he didn't play much against Houston. The Kadeem Boop kid isn't good. I don't know why he plays. He cannot score. He cannot guard. He thinks he's awesome, and he's not. But they've got, they've got enough around AJ and Rob as far as players who are capable of making open jump shots. To me, that's going to be the thing. Gordy talked about it yesterday. That's the thing to look for. When they're selling out, double teaming, blitzing, gapping AJ DeBonsa to get the ball out of his hands, doubling him on the catch or on the bounce, whatever they do, it will be with the idea of someone else has to beat us besides him. Put some pressure on Rob Wright, too, because I think he is going to have a little bit more space. But my guess is Texas will just sell out on AJ. This is going to come down to BYU making some open jump shots against a Texas team who last night beat NC State to advance to the tournament. Shout out to Howard. Really cool scene. The Howard Bison had never won an NCAA tournament game in the history of their program. They did last night against UMBC. Turned out to be a really close game at the end. You may have turned it off because at one point I think Howard was up 16 or 17. It looked like they were going to run away with it. But they were able to advance and move on to the tournament after beating UMBC, and now they take on Michigan, so hopefully they just enjoyed that night. So it'll be BYU, Texas, coming up on Friday in Portland. Coming up tomorrow in San Diego, it is Utah State taking on Villanova. Now, as we discussed yesterday, Jared Calhoun very unhappy with a 9 seed for his Aggies. Ken Pom, interestingly enough, Ken Pomeroy joined the show yesterday, told us that he thought that was about right. That's where they belong. Now, Ken is good to remind us, and you can get mad at it if you want. The committee does not think highly of the Mountain West Conference. It just doesn't. One bid league this year, And Utah State won the regular season championship and the conference championship and could only get on to the 9 line. Now, the good news is I do think they're going to beat Villanova. I think this is a winnable game for Utah State against a Villanova team, as we've discussed, with a first-year head coach who's been all over. He's been everywhere. I mean, he's a longtime college coach, comes from Maryland, was at Iona, and took Villanova to 24 wins in his first year, which is a record for that program, including Jay Wright. They've got 4 or 5 pretty solid wing players. Spencer Nelson joined us a couple days ago to break this game down. They're very perimeter orientated, but they're skilled. They can pass, dribble, and shoot. They like to shoot the 3 like everyone else does. They just don't do anything that stands out. They're fine. It's a scoop of vanilla ice cream. And who doesn't like vanilla ice cream? But can we get some chocolate fudge? Not with Villanova. If you look at their schedule, they didn't beat any good teams, and they didn't really have a ton of really bad losses outside of Georgetown in the Big East tournament because Georgetown isn't very good this year. I think so. The good news is I think Utah State will advance to take on Villanova, and despite the bravado of MJ Collins, and I love it, I love the kid. He's had a great year. Saying that after they beat Villanova, they're going to go beat Arizona, and the tournament will be reset, and they're going to be the number 1 seed. I don't think they have a prayer against Arizona. I think Arizona's going to win the national championship. Of course, there are other options, but MJ Collins, Mason Falslev, a great guard line. Mason was the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, and MJ was the tournament most valuable player. And Utah State has a lot of kids that have stuck around Logan. They've got a lot of experienced college basketball players combined with some transfers like MJ, who's played really well. That seems to be kind of the secret sauce. And it's interesting to think about Texas. 4th most experience in college basketball. They've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of college basketball games. Now, not necessarily 3-4 years together. That's a different deal. Of course, Sean Miller, Texas' head coach, was the coach of Arizona once upon a time before, well, you know, you can Google that. All right, we'll get back to this. We're going to preview BYU, Texas with Spencer Linton. He's going to join us coming up. But on the other side, our college football genius, savant, insider, he is connected. He is plugged in. He is Chris Kamrani on a Wednesday drive on ESPN 700. Porter's on a Modest Mouse kick lately, and I don't hate it. Although he also played How Bizarre yesterday, unsolicited too. So
You're welcome.
No, that's not a good song.
What?
This is a good song. Oh, what?
Come on, dude.
Chris Kamrani live in studio. How Bizarre?
Are you serious?
You
That is one of the great one-track wonders of the mid-'90s.
That song sucks.
Oh, man. You were just mad because that was probably like your freshman year at college and they were playing it on loop at the parties.
What year did How Bizarre come out? I'm going to
I'm
guess.
going to say 93, 94.
Okay.
It could be a little earlier, though.
That's high school for me. Let's see. How Bizarre came out 1995.
Okay, so close.
Yeah, well done. So that's still high school
Okay.
for your boy. It's not
All
college.
right.
I'm not that old.
Bountiful state champ.
Yeah, thank you very much. Not that old, even though I did move into my late 40s yesterday.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Hit some golf balls with a very special friend at night. Enjoyed that. Ate some dinner. Did the thing. Watched some hoop. Went to bed.
Cool.
Can't ask for much more.
What time did you hit? What time did the head hit the pillow?
About 11:30.
Oh, that's late, man. Good
yeah,
for you.
Yeah, it's my birthday.
Yeah.
I even
sure.
cheated on the diet because my brother sent me some crumble cookies, which was lovely.
Naturally.
They had a nice cake for me here, so I had a little bit of that.
Wow.
Got a little loose, man.
Jeez.
When's your birthday?
I'm not telling you.
Why?
I'll tell you off air.
Wait, I actually know what it is.
Yeah.
It's in my phone.
Yeah.
Are you in your 40s yet? Are you?
Soon to be.
Are you about to turn 40?
In 2026.
Do we have permission to get wild? And with you, that means like a beer.
A beer, a hamburger, maybe some French fries.
Ooh.
But I got to be like in bed by 9 o'clock.
Oh no, I'm aware.
Maybe 8:30.
What about a Trax ride to Sandy to support the lads?
Well, that's maybe. But as you know, life's going to get a little more interesting here in the coming months.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
We'll see. But yes.
Yes, it's now. I'm not going to dispense advice, as we've talked about. One of the most annoying things I ran into when I had Connor, I was the youngest dad of my friends, and so they're starting to give me advice. I'm like, shut up! You play Xbox until 4. I don't want to hear you give me advice about being a parent. I do not have 2. You're about to have 2. My understanding is when you go from 1 to 2, it's a little bit of a different deal. I'll just say it that way.
Man to man, as they say.
Man to man.
Box in 1.
Triangle in 2, if
Okay.
you will.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with the wit stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Spring football, all around, much rejoicing.
Elated.
Shout out John Paul. We're all elated. And spring football in Ann Arbor, where Michigan plays football, where Kyle Whittingham lives now. Addresses the media. In fact, Porter, pull that clip up. Tell me when you have it. We don't need to get to it right away. For anyone who missed it, we'll play it again. A reporter essentially asked him a question and said, your defensive coordinator said your scheme is the most complicated in the country. And Kyle said, Morgan said that? Now, the reporter could have done everyone a favor by being like, hey, did he not know who Morgan was? I don't know why Kyle went there. I don't know why it wasn't corrected.
Counter. It unveiled something better.
And ultimately,
and more real.
Well, exactly. And the way I heard that, the way I listened to that, listening to Kyle speak for 20 years, he sounded irritated. He sounded agitated.
A little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I'm not saying you blew a gasket.
Yeah, you're never going to get that. But yeah, you could tell. You could tell that it was. But I think the context, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more, was he was asked about how on offense and in defense these days, you kind of have to whittle things down, simplify things for players in the transfer portal era because you don't have time to throw everything at them, especially in a complex defensive system the way Utah historically is run.
Right. All right. For anyone who missed it, Porter, let's play this. This is Wit from yesterday.
Dennis?
Yeah, Dennis with you again. You said that with the last 3 years you've simplified some things. Your defensive coordinator said that he runs the most complicated scheme in all of college football. How long?
Morgan said that? Okay.
Yeah, well, how long do you think it's going to take to put that in? And was he just,
Well, Jay Hill, our coordinator here, is, it's like I don't want to say a cult, but it all started with my father, the defensive schemes that we run that were run at BYU, and it's all kind of offshoot. And the starting point and the origination was brought to Utah by my father in 1993, and it's I don't want to say complicated, but there's some moving parts to it. But again, things have been simplified, and if you don't, you're going to have a hard time functioning because you just can't get these guys ready to play soon enough. And so I don't know any more comment about his quote, but I know here it'll be guys be able to plug in and get things done right away. So if that makes sense.
Okay. So there it is, just in case you missed it. And yes, I feel very confident saying that is Kyle Whittingham being annoyed. I feel like that was an annoyed response. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, and you just heard the question, the reporter did start with, you said you were simplifying. Mm-hmm. Your defensive coordinator is now saying it's complex.
Yeah.
So that certainly probably annoyed Kyle. I'm still wondering why there was this response in his brain that went straight to Morgan when the reporter said, your defensive coordinator. Jay Hill is his defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, the Murphy's Law, whatever the most logical.
Pavlovian response, whatever they say.
Yeah, the most logical answer is usually the right one, is he just misheard him, basically, or he misunderstood the question. But, it's a little sneak peek into the fact that, things probably didn't end great up on the U a couple months ago. And everybody does run Big Fred's defense. I've talked with Kyle about it ad nauseum, the last however many years I've been covering him. My guess would be he took the misconstrued question to believe that maybe Morgan believes that he's the reason why it's such a complex, really good defense. That's to me the logical answer.
I could see that actually,
but
yeah,
and what we should say is that Jay Hill went on a Michigan podcast in the last couple weeks, or I guess it was in February, to talk about how complex his defense is, which it is. I mean, like people talked about it when he was down at BYU, and that's why they were so good. And again, it's all an offshoot of what Utah ran with Kyle and with Big Fred. But yeah, it's like I said, I think that's about as agitated / annoyed as you're going to get. And again, like you said, you're never going to see him blow a gasket. You're not. You're not going to. But little peek behind the curtain.
A peek behind the curtain. And, part of me feels like this is a little bit reminiscent of what happened with the Jazz when the Mitchell, Gobert, Quinn, Dennis stuff all went down. It's not a perfect parallel.
They ate lunch together. Come on, Spence.
Thank you, Quinn. Sat next to each other. That was a great response. Like ultimately, there are so many things the public does not know about how all that went down. But I don't think enough of it is Andy Larson's going to write a tell-all book about how everything happened behind the scenes. And I don't think there is really anything all that salacious that went down when Kyle left. I just think I've landed in the spot that it's pretty clear he felt disrespected and probably continues to.
Wanted to keep coaching.
Which
we have to put out there first and foremost.
100%. And I think there were a lot of people up there on the Hill that were ready for him to go.
Sure.
Beyond that, I don't know what I feel comfortable saying.
I mean, I'm sure folks up there are ready to move on into the new era of, Utah football, Utah athletics. But this is going to be a cloud that hovers over the program and the university for a long time. Especially if Michigan has a very good year or a very good next year. If they're in the mix for the Big Ten title, if they make, the college football playoff, we don't know what Utah's going to look like, as we've talked about over and over again. Lots of important returning starters, 0 returning starters, and arguably the most important position group on the team. My advice, as always, would be to be logical and do not listen to state media and say that, these reports that Utah's going to win double digits, win the Big 12 title, go to the playoff. Everybody needs to just slow their roll, let things play out, Yeah, and yes, we have some proven commodities on the roster, but again, this is primarily a group of coaches who are doing everything for the first time, and that just cannot be understated.
Yesterday, Porter and I on the show, as a result of playing the sound, debated, let's see, how much Kyle will be able to control the narratives in Ann Arbor the way he was really, if we're honest, able to control narratives here, at least as far as the messaging goes, because he wielded a very large sword up there, and most people acquiesced to anything he wanted. He was very rarely challenged by media members, mainly because there are bloggers up there that ask him questions, then cry when he leaves for a different market. It's a different scene now, okay? Right. And I just wonder how it's going to go for him in Ann Arbor with a job that is one of the highest profile jobs in all of college football, when things may not be going well for him, and he's actually, by legitimate, serious media people, pushed into a corner and forced to answer questions in a way that I don't know that he ever had to here.
That's a good observation. I don't think we'll know until we get there, because I think a lot of people forget that once upon a time, like, Kyle would be willing to go toe-to-toe with some guys in his early years as a head coach. There was a lot of awkward interactions during the time he and Chris Hill were, in the mix of, what his contract extension was going to be around 2013, 2014. But I think Kyle's just to the point now where, like, honestly, I think his MO, his system, his proof of concept, I think it's just going to take him where it takes him. And, like, I mean, yeah, if Michigan has an injury-riddled 5-7 season the way Utah did a few years ago, or 4-8, whatever they were, yeah, the heat will be turned up. But I don't know, man. I think Kyle's kind of playing with house money, really. Like, especially considering where Michigan was before he came on board. Like,
Right, yeah.
I think Kyle was hired on his coaching merits and what he did here, but I think he was hired also because, like, he's an adult and knows how to basically delineate and lead a program. And clearly the guy before him did not and was not. So cross that bridge when we get there, but I think you'll see more pressure from the boosters at a school like Michigan as opposed to the folks in the media. Because, like, yeah, I mean, you have Free Press, Detroit News, Michigan Daily or whatever is a great student paper, but I think Michigan is one of the most well-funded athletic departments in the country from a booster perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a jump man school too. So
right.
They're operating in a different, bracket here.
The Jumpman gear is so good.
It is.
I wish Utah somehow, some way, probably not on the radar. Can we get it out from underneath the Under Armour stuff? How much longer? Do you have any idea how much longer the Utah?
I do not.
Porter, do you know?
Next year.
Next year.
2027 through 2027.
Okay, if anyone's listening up there, and we know that you are, don't renew it. Okay, let it expire. Move on. How about Roan.com? Roan, huh? A little Roan Utah apparel.
Plug.
Just move on from Under Armour, dude. It's been so long since there's been good Utah gear.
Is Brother Checketts ready to take on that type of inventory?
I think we could pull that off.
Oh, really? Okay.
They should get into the space. Actually, we don't need.
It's not a bad idea. Like, there's all these new hip clothing things.
Yeah.
Like, you could be the hip athletic jersey company.
Coach Scally is about to get a nice box of Roan on his front doorstep, so we'll see if Coach Scally likes it. I just don't love the Under. Anyway. The Jumpman, that's a perfect partner. Michigan's gear is cool. I love their uniforms.
Classic.
Yeah, it's classic.
Never messed with it. Never has to.
Yeah.
Never have to.
Yeah, look, your point about Kyle playing with house money, I mean, there's no chance if we asked Witt, even 2 days before he actually got that call, what job would you take? He probably wouldn't even have the gall to say, well, if Michigan opened up, I would take that job. It was such a perfect combination of events that unfolded over the course of 72 hours for him to land there. He's being paid a grip of money for essentially the December of his career, the back nine of his career. There's a golf analogy for you, so you feel comfortable. So, yeah, maybe there's not going to be a lot of things that really annoy him very much. Obviously, he's a super competitive dude. I do wonder how he will handle the pressure that will inevitably come his way that is times 20 anything he ever handled here. Kyle's obviously a very good man, smart man, hardworking guy, great coach. I anticipate him doing well there. But when the money is what it is, when the exposure is what it is, when you're playing in that conference and coaching that school, it's just inevitable that the heat feels really hot when it starts to turn up in a way that I don't know that it ever did here for him. I know there were some people early on that were like, I'm not sure if he's the guy, but honestly,
after those 2, 5, and 7 seasons,
he's fine.
Yeah.
You know, at least that's the way I viewed it.
Well, Kyle talked about that a little bit yesterday. Is like, at Utah we were turning 2-star guys into NFL guys. We were used to having 3 stars, and every once in a while a 4-star. Like Michigan, you're primarily 4 and 5-star guys, and according to Kyle, as you would expect him to say so, they are ready to turn the page. They are ready to take on whatever he's asking of them. Beyond the pressure, I agree with you. I just think this is such a fascinating look at if what he did at Utah translates, because he has all of his guys.
Yeah.
He has Jay Hill running a defense, and, so many people thought Jay was eventually going to get a G5 or a P4, head coaching job in recent years. Obviously, he's kind of probably there for more than one reason, since Kyle's in the twilight of his career. You have Jason Beck, who has proof of concept with how good he can formulate a rushing attack, and then you have your bevy of assistants. I mean, again, it's not going to be fair, but it's going to be logical to compare these two teams.
Of course.
And primarily because Kyle was able to get so many coaches that he hired over the years, who he fostered their coaching careers, and is now having, the ability to see if it works elsewhere. And as we talked about, the ending, the separation, whatever you want to call it, acrimonious at best, and we'll see what happens.
Well, and look, ultimately, I will absolutely be curious as to what Kyle's able to do at Michigan.
We'll be watching Michigan games
We'll be
every
watching
Saturday,
Michigan, and we'll be talking about it on the show.
Yeah.
Okay, so before you text in, throw your phone out the window. I don't give a rip. This is interesting.
1-877-353-0700.
What?
Right, Porter?
How do you know it and I don't?
I have a photographic memory.
I do, too.
It's my birthday.
But I have to look at the number. 877-3. No, don't text. Because I know there are people that are like, "Ooh, talk about Utah football." Well, of course we're going to talk about Utah football. Of course we're going to talk about Morgan. Of course we're excited to see what he can do. But it's interesting. Elated, thank you. It's interesting to consider all the dynamics that are in play that landed Kyle in Ann Arbor. And I guarantee there's a side of him that has that juice, that wants to show anyone here that was ready to show him the door that they blew it. I promise you that's inside of him.
Oh, I mean, if it wasn't Michigan, if it was another school, yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
I think he is on the fast track to prove to people that he's still got it.
The other interesting thing that I was thinking about after listening to that clip and then just considering a few things here or there, a lot of these guys, and I know Kyle said a number of years ago that he was going to be done coaching at 65. He has since said he regretted ever saying that because it put a lot of things in people's minds. And then as 65 got closer, a lot of people are like, all right, dude, you said it.
Well, and as 65 got closer, sorry to cut you off, but like 63, 64, they're winning conference titles. You know what I mean? Like, everything seemed to have fallen into place right around this timeline that he laid out for himself.
Yes, you're not wrong about that at all. But so many of these guys nowadays are like lifers in a way that they just can't quit, right? They just can't, like Coach McBride is still, I think this summer, or I should say, I think like 3 or 4 weeks ago, Coach McBride was coaching clinics in Hawaii. I mean,
it's good life.
But he still visits a bunch of different. A lot of these guys just want to be around it so bad. Like, I was talking to somebody about Tom Thibodeau, who the Knicks fired last year after going to the Eastern Conference Finals and brought in Mike Brown. And I said, well, I hope Tom is on a beach somewhere counting Jim Dolan's money. He said, no, he's been traveling around and spending time with other NBA teams, like hanging out with his buddies that are coaches, going to practices, going to games. There's something about this lifestyle that a lot of these guys just latch onto and they don't know what else to do.
Well, can you blame them? You've been paid an ungodly amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
You work hard hours, but you're still being compensated at a rate that most people in their lifetime can barely even comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
These people are being paid tens of millions of dollars to go away. Even Brian Kelly said in his first public appearance since being fired from LSU, he was on with Dusty Dvorak and the other guy, I forget his name, forgive me, but he's like, yeah, I plan on going to see all my former coaches this spring. Gonna go check in with my former coaches, go check out some NFL mini camps. And it's like, this guy is being paid like $63 million to go away, man. I mean, you can fall on all the cliches of competitive juice, wanting to prove everyone wrong. I think the most basic explanation would be they love it, and it's who they are.
Yeah.
And college football coaches are among the most intense, paranoid people that you'll come across. Like, side note, and I know we'll get here, but talking to Kevin Young for this BYU story was like, I was like, how is this the same type of person? And as like a college football coach, they're not clearly because they're different sports, different personalities for the most part. But I was like blown away at like what Kevin was willing to like talk about, open up to, like the first time I've ever talked to him, and it was great. And I was like, wow, like I could never imagine having a college football coach being willing to just like kind of go deep with somebody that they don't know that well.
Yeah. We had a cool opportunity yesterday to head up to the football facility, eat a little lunch.
What'd you have?
I had a yogurt and water.
What?
Bro, 4-hour radio show.
No, sorry, and you had cake and crumble, so you were preparing.
I did. I spoiled myself for my birthday, but prior to the radio show, I'm not smashing beef stroganoff like Porter in there. Porter smashed a bunch of beef stroganoff. Dave Fox took advantage of the free food, I'll just tell you that.
2 salads, 2 beef stroganoffs.
Sat next to Jordan Gross. My man can put down some food. He had a big old plate. Nice to chat with him, though. Really, really good guy. And I'll just say this. You know me. Results over vibes. You know me.
St. Patrick's Day, I've been told, is generally a time of year where it's all about the vibes.
All about the vibes and the luck.
Yep.
The feeling up there is really good. I mean, the guys are good. They're all expressing a lot of optimism, and everybody does during spring. Everyone seems to really enjoy the working environment, and some kind of alluded to it's a better working environment already than it was up there for a long, long time, and I'll just kind of leave it there. What do you think?
How many guys were returning, really? 2.
Sharif.
And Mark Atuaya.
Marky Atuaya, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I guess Luther Ellis.
Correct.
I think we have to make one thing abundantly clear. It's okay to try to analyze this team through the lens of logic. And by that, I mean just because I will have questions or you will have questions or Porter will have questions or someone else has questions as to whether or not Morgan will, quote unquote, hit the ground running in year one does not make us a detractor. It does not make us a, quote unquote, hater. We're just people who have been in this market for a long time and understand that the guy who led the program for 21 years is gone. And they had 3 subpar, sub 500 seasons in 21 years. It's pretty astounding.
It's remarkable.
Hit rate.
It's remarkable.
They have lots of talent coming back. They have lots of guys that we have no idea about. So let's not compare this transfer portal class that Utah got to the Texas Techs or the Oregons or the Michigans. Got some talent that fit holes on the roster. But again, everyone needs to pump their brakes.
It is going to take a ton of hard work and probably a ton of health luck for Utah football to do anything beyond 8 wins.
Yep.
And look, the schedule is pretty favorable for Utah. This is an interesting dynamic. The schedule for Texas Tech, Utah, and BYU, pretty manageable on paper. Now, I was sitting next to a couple of the coaches. We were talking about the kind of one of the dynamics, and a good point was made. Like every year, there's a team or two in the Big 12 that just turns out to be better than we thought they would be. There's a lot of buzz around Houston.
Yep.
I've not covered. I have no idea.
You're not smashing Willie Fritz tape.
I'm not right now, but you know me.
You will be.
As we get closer,
Yeah.
all 22 gap sound assignments, physical. You know, when I came up with RBSN, you know, it was just like a moment of just revelation.
Yeah, I know.
It's beautiful. I will be smashing tape when I need to, but look, it's really easy to sit here in March and look at the schedule and see Idaho, Arkansas, Utah State, non-con handle that, and then get into the conference schedule and just assume that they're going to be good. The things that have to fall into place to win a conference championship, the health luck that you have to have in this day and age of players coming and going, their ability to grasp your concepts instantly, which is what Kyle was asked about yesterday. You have to be organized. You have to be prescient. Shout out Trey. And, almost urgent to get things processed in a way that if you knew you had these kids 2, 3, 4 years, maybe you can let them grow. This is a year-over-year sport now, Chris, in a way that didn't used to be. It's very rare that you're going to get continuity longer than a couple of years, which makes every single year, quite frankly, extremely hard to predict.
Well, not to mention that if we're talking about Utah specifically, and I think we are, first-time head coach, first-time defensive coordinator. Now, granted, first-time head coach was the long-time defensive coordinator, so we know that will help. Kevin McGibbon is a offensive coordinator that was hired for a multitude of reasons, primarily due to the similarities between he and Jason Beck's offense. But Kevin McGibbon is not a household name by any means. Neither was Jason Beck. And like Jason Beck, when he was at New Mexico, I think Utah State was one of the most prolific offenses in the country last year. Even with, not saying even with, Bryson Barnes.
Yeah.
Great college quarterback.
Absolutely.
But how does the offense look? Can they throw the damn ball? Will they have a 1,000-yard receiver? Who's their tight end this year? Can Wayshawn Parker run for 1,000 yards behind a bunch of new guys that there are questions?
That's the number one thing right there.
And it's okay to say there are questions about this team because you're going to have a 5-star true freshman starting at left tackle or right tackle, probably the kid from Montana State starting at the other end, and then guys that have been in the program for a while. But it cannot be understated how good and how lucky they were last year to have an offensive line that talented, that experienced, and that healthy.
Yeah. You heard about the Dow and the S&P 500 today, yeah?
Dip.
Yeah. Have you checked?
Dip.
Okay. How's the portfolio?
I'd say strong.
To quite strong? I'm serious, by the way, about Chris's portfolio and the dip. All right. Before you know it, it'll be baseball's opening day. There's nothing like taking in a game on a sunny afternoon. You can get your field ready this summer with IFA's 4+ lawn care program. It's a blend especially formulated for Utah soils. Get healthy, lush, dark green grass this summer by making your power move today at IFA Country Stores. All right, 1 hour down, 3 hours to go. More with CK coming up next on ESPN 700. Chris Camerati is live in studio with us. We were just discussing the McKay Coppins piece.
Yeah.
Was that the Atlantic?
Yep.
So they gave him $10,000.
Yep.
And told him to go bet on sports.
Mm-hmm.
It went about as well as you thought it would
Well,
go.
and McKay is a member of the church. He's has ties to the state. He does a podcast now for the Deseret News. He was on Fresh Air this week. Listen to the
As
interview
one
about it.
does?
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, it was fascinating to see that, like, you get addicted to it, man. And who could have thought? And I purposefully, you know me, I stay away from all this spooky stuff. AI, predictive markets. I learned a whole lot through McKay just explaining what people can actually bet on now. He started with $10,000. Do you remember how much he ended up with?
Oh, I
It was
don't.
like $11.
$11. Yeah, I remember he lost most of it.
Yeah.
Was it all on sports?
Yeah.
It was.
It was starting fall football season through basically the end of the football season.
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel I've been sounding the alarm on this, and I play fantasy football, and occasionally.
It's different though.
Yeah,
man.
but I mean, what I'm saying is, like, fantasy football is a form of. I honestly feel like one of the reasons the NFL is as popular as it is.
Oh, that's one of the main reasons.
It figured out the gambling stuff in a couple of different, like, covert ways years ago, in a way that the other sports just didn't. Yeah, there's fantasy baseball, there's fantasy everything now, but fantasy football is far more popular and has been for years. And look, I'll throw a few DraftKings lineups in occasionally, but like to go deep into that well, if you're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars trying to hit a 4-team parlay, and whether or not Rob Wright's going to have 4 assists before 10 minutes gone, and like, it is, you're beating your head against the wall. As they say in Ocean's 11, the only way to win is bet big and then walk away. Go all in, bet big. If you win,
that's what I do.
I've seen it.
Bet video roulette.
Yeah.
Black once.
Yep.
Done.
Bet big. If you win, walk away. And by the way, if you win, walk away.
Yep.
Because if you stick around, you're going to be like, wait, I just won $5,000. Okay, I'm going to turn this into $8,000. No, you're not. You're going to lose it.
Always wins.
Your boy did go on a heater once upon a time. You were there.
Oh, I was there.
Yeah. My man Nate Bench
I was there.
on my flank.
Somebody had to stay with you because we were like, hey, we want to go eat pizza.
And I couldn't.
And like, he's on a heater.
I'm on a heater, and he stuck around with me. But that's a unicorn. That's not going to happen very often. And look, it's one thing, like, if you organize a trip, like we're doing the Dover thing, all right, let's go to Vegas or whatever. You go for a weekend, you throw some cards. All right. The issue here is, as McKay brilliantly pointed out, like, it's right here in your hand.
It's the addiction upon the
It's
addiction.
the dopamine right in your hand. Like, I realized yesterday, I said, well, Vegas likes BYU. I'm like, I don't even need to say Vegas anymore. It used to be that's where the sports books were. Now they're in your freaking hand, and you can access them 24 hours a day.
Can I interest you on Reno?
Actually, yes. I have a cousin and his wife. They live in Reno, and they tell me it's quite lovely.
I have a cousin who lives in Reno as well.
Well, then
Reno's
looks like
very underrated.
that's what I've heard.
When I did the Stone Cold Steve Austin story,
A sentence that's real.
I spent some time in Reno for the first time in a while, and granted, it was like in May, and it was lovely. And I was like, it's still Reno, but I don't know, man. It was kind of given like Salt Lake, like 90s vibes a little bit. College town, like you're down the street from UNR.
Yeah.
Lots of like hip little restaurants, and just, I don't know, man. To me, Vegas isn't it for me. Wendover is obviously not it for me, but I would settle on a Reno.
We can do a Reno.
We could do a Reno.
We were in Mesquite.
We were in Mesquite.
Mesquite's a nice little John. It's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
Yeah, what do they call it? The biggest
little city.
Biggest little city in the world. I did very much enjoy Reno 911, and still
One of
from
the
time.
best shows
Oh
of all
my
time.
gosh, dude! And still, I get hit on the algorithm with it. Just little clips here and there.
Yep.
Anyway, yes, gambling not good. I will repeat my moniker to my listeners: you work too hard for your money. Keep it in your pocket. Keep it in your bank account. All right, BYU plays Texas tomorrow. Texas beat NC State last night. Really, well, it was a close game, not a good game. Neither team.
Asleep.
Yeah, well, you didn't miss much. I will say, I think this is a better matchup for BYU. They're only favored by 1.5 points. Ken Palm has them favored by 3, 60% win percentage chance. We're going to bring in Spencer Lynn a little bit later. But you and your buddy, CJ Moore, with a really interesting, good piece per usual on BYU basketball. You chatted with Kevin Young.
Chatted with Kevin Young. Chatted with Jimmer Fredette.
The legend.
And yeah, I mean, I know this has been done locally, but from a national perspective ahead of the tournament, it kind of can't be understated how unique BYU's situation is and has been this year, and how they plan on spinning it forward. Like, yes, Yegor Demin was a nice start, but AJ DeBonsa is obviously a whole nother animal. He odds on to be the number 1 overall pick.
So good
right now. And quick tangent, I would behoove you to go read CJ's other story I retweeted. He talked to Darren Peterson about all of the stuff he's gone through this year.
Okay.
Very good. But yeah, so CJ and I spent the last several months, digging into how Kevin Young's process is predicated on building a, NBA style program in Provo, and why it's working in the recruiting realm. And like I said, Kevin was, very transparent. In one of his talks with CJ, he laid out like kind of their NIL contract planning and how they plan to max out 3 players and basically call like what they call vet minimums to everyone else. And will they continue that next year with AJ gone? I need you to tell me if Rob Wright's gone, or is he potentially?
No, I think Rob Wright comes back. I don't know that he's an NBA guy.
So
he'll make another $3 million next year, probably.
And Richie Saunders is gone because he's out of eligibility. Yep. You have this Bruce Branch III kid, another 5-star kid coming in.
He's really good. That's probably a $3 or $4 million guy.
So, what we wanted to do was explain to readers who aren't familiar with the intersectionality of BYU's history with athletics, the fact that the church has some sway but doesn't directly pay for BYU athletics. They have quite a bit of sway and influence, and just what AJ means as a whole ahead of this tournament.
Yeah, the way that the NIL contracts were laid out were really interesting. I've got it up in front of me. You can go to, I tweeted it out, retweeted. CK is big on Twitter, so go follow him. And click on those links. Obviously, The Athletic, Chris Comrani, a really good story on BYU basketball. I learned that BYU's vice president is named Keith Vorkink.
Vorkink, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you chatted with him.
Yep.
And then you talked about the Clark Gilbert comments.
Yep.
Patrick Q. Mason, the chair of Mormon history and culture at Utah State University. Because I find this dynamic really interesting. Yeah. And I have a background that ultimately is tied in LDS culture and also is very much tied down to BYU and BYU athletics. So I feel like I have a good grasp on both sides here. And I don't want to say both sides as if it's two sides pitted against each other, but in a way, it kind of feels like there's a little bit of that permeating throughout the undercurrent of stories like this, where are the people who are really in charge of BYU, who live up here in Salt Lake, and they're right there on South Temple. Are they happy with the way these funds are being allocated to bring in students? And there are 0 LDS kids in the rotation of BYU basketball currently. Richie was the only one playing.
Correct.
That is brand new. And I actually had a guest recently say BYU basketball needs they need a BYU guy. And basically they were saying is a Mormon needs to be on the team and he needs to play. So let's unpack this a little bit. How do you feel like that dynamic is kind of being handled by everyone involved?
Well, we'll start with what Clark Gilbert, who was once upon a time the CEO of the Deseret News and Deseret Digital Media, transitioned to a role in the LDS Church as, I think, president of education, something along those lines. And he went on
Commissioner of the Church Education System,
went on a podcast last year with some former BYU players from the heyday and said, BYU can never be involved in a purely pay-to-play model. And, that obviously carried a lot of weight locally and nationally in the wake of landing a guy like AJ DeBonsa. So what we wanted to do was, try to find out, does somebody like Clark Gilbert, who, by the way, last month was confirmed as one of the 12 in the
member of the 12 apostles,
and what we were told is that the church wants BYU to be able to be competitive in this current landscape. They just don't want BYU to be willing to shell out top dollar for anybody, because they don't want players coming to BYU strictly for the reason of money itself. And that makes sense on its face. I mean, AJ DeBonsa, whether he's means it or not, has routinely told guys on ESPN and FS1 that his favorite class this year was Book of Mormon. Like, they dropped that during broadcasts. And what Dr. Mason at Utah State, Dr. Mason attended BYU before going on to Notre Dame to get his doctorate. So a local guy who understands the landscape. It was important for him to relay to readers that in this era, BYU cannot rely on a roster that's 90% LDS because you can't compete. Like, it's a culture. It's a small culture that historically turns out quite a few good athletes. But at the P4 level, you just can't do it.
Well, I think if you could get every single one of them, you would have a chance. The problem is,
but who currently, like Colin Chandler?
No, I'm talking about football and basketball. Like, but the problem now is, once upon a time, I do think BYU, and your point about basketball is well taken. But I'm thinking more through the football prism.
Okay.
No, your point about basketball is spot on. I actually have nothing to add to that. You cannot, no chance, roll out a roster of all LDS bros and win a national championship.
Well, because like this isn't 2011. This isn't Jimmer, Jackson Emery, Talon Shumway, Brandon Davies.
But they didn't even do anything.
Right, but I'm saying like that was so in last 45 years. 45 years ago, BYU made its deepest run in school history, 1981, Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Danny Ainge was a star player.
Yeah.
Last 45 years, they've made only 2 Sweet 16s.
Right.
One was the Jimmer year, one was last year.
That's right.
BYU men's basketball has the most NCAA tournament appearrances of any men's basketball program without having made a Final Four.
This is true. See, I was thinking about that class where Greg Wrubell is like 4 Final Fours is the limit with.
You're talking about Lone Peak 3.
Eric Minka, right?
Eric Mika. You're talking
about
Nick Emery, TJ Haas.
Who was the one that got suspended for Harry Potter World? That was Nick Emery, wasn't it?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Isn't that right? Didn't Nick Emery go to Harry Potter World and get suspended?
And a Jetta.
It's the most BYU story
right.
of all time.
I forgot about that.
My man got a Jetta,
Yep.
went to Harry Potter World and got suspended, and now they're paying AJ DeBonsa $4 million. Penny for Nick Emery's thoughts, by the way. He was a really good player. And all three, dude, they made a documentary on that high school team. They were awesome.
I covered them. That was my first year at the Tribune. My job was cover Lone Peak wherever they go.
So you went to those tournaments?
Yep.
I mean, I had heard about them, but I didn't watch much. I watched the documentary. They were balling. Yeah. So, I mean, but even so, you get those 3 kids, and it didn't work. Like, they were just okay, even though Wrubell said they were going to 4 Final Fours.
But also, the thing that was tricky was everyone took missions at different times.
Yes.
So they didn't all play together the entire time.
Yeah, I always thought Minka was going to be an NBA guy. He played some pro ball, and he left early, right?
He was with the Kings.
Yeah.
I actually talked to him recently for the.
He's a good dude. We've had him on the show.
He's a very bright guy.
Yeah.
He has an interesting startup business where he, I think they just partnered with Utah State Athletics. I don't know what it is exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're 100% correct that in 2026, if you have 12 church ball bros playing for BYU, you're not going to win. Okay. The football angle is interesting though, because I think once upon a time, BYU did get the majority of the LDS kids, but now Utah gets some. They're going to USC. They're going to Oregon. They're going all over the country. If somehow, some way, you could get every single LDS football player, I think you'd have a really good football team.
It would be an interesting thought exercise to do before the season to see like which players that are out there at other schools could like what they would look like at BYU versus what BYU has currently.
Right.
Because I'm trying to think like quarterbacks. I don't know. Like, and Ryder Lyons is coming in after his 1-year abbreviated mission.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, the genesis of the story is just BYU kind of figuring out its spot in the landscape, and Kevin Young being very assertive to me and to CJ that BYU does not write blank checks like most people believe they do. And he even told us that AJ came to BYU basically on more of a flyer, like he came as a bargain, which is compared to what some other people were offering him. And I know you can say that, but I'm the dude at Michigan told the associate. Did you see that? Yaxel, I forget his last name, but the Michigan star basketball player told the Associated Press this week that Kentucky was offering him $7 to $9 million.
Kentucky did spend $20 million on the roster this year. Look, I'm not saying anyone down there is lying.
Yeah.
I'm saying it feels like there's a little bit of intellectual dishonesty going on where we just can't admit that money is part of the equation. I'm not saying that it's all. Kevin is a guy that probably, if he held on a little bit longer, could have had a head NBA coaching job. He spent a number of years in the NBA, interviewed for the Celtic job and the Jazz job because Ainge, right? So highly thought of by a lot of people. A lot of people really, really respect him. I understand that he is running the program like a professional basketball program, and that's top to bottom. It's from Kevin to the strength and conditioning coach, the nutritionist, and he is proving that his model is capable of turning players into pros. That's part of it, but guess what? So are the checks that you're writing. And I just get a little tired of the messaging down there where they're trying to deflect and say, no, this isn't about money. I'm not saying it's all about money. I'm saying it's kind of about money.
It is about money, and that's what Keith Vorking said. I think, like, he said it in the quote himself. He said, I think people were surprised to see a faith-based university be in the mix. And they are in the mix. I think it's different when you have an AJ, and I think the Rob Wright thing is kind of something that took it to the next level, because if you go into just this year with AJ making $4 to $6 million, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they were able to basically snake Rob Wright from Baylor and pay him a lot of money, that changes the landscape of, AJ and Richie needed a third guy to play with them to, like, maybe reach the apex of what they believe this roster could be. Let's find a way. And clearly they found a way. It is about money, but it's also this weird, like, the intersectionality of how it is about money, but it's also not, and it's about how you get so many non-LDS kids to come basically to Provo to live this lifestyle for 6 to 7 months in the case of AJ, or in the case of Rob, depending on how long he's there. One thing that was really interesting to me that didn't make the piece, and this is probably something I should dive in on later on this year, is that Dr. Mason at Utah State was the first one to bring this up to me, and he said he's not like a diehard BYU fan, but he's a Mormon scholar, and he said you could see non-LDS parents wanting to send their kids to BYU more and more because it prepares them for the NBA lifestyle more than any other place in terms of avoiding distractions, avoiding the partying, all that stuff. Jimmer said the same thing on his own when I talked to him too. It's like people are looking at this now as that stepping stone, so to speak, where it's like you get paid, you're good, you get seen on, ESPN, FS1, whatever, and you don't have to worry about all of the other stuff.
I think it's a valid, spot-on point. It's interesting. I was golfing recently, your boy, and I was paired with a couple. I was That's all I play. I know. You know that. I mean, just for our listeners, though, Pro V1s only. Yep. I was in Dana Point. I was not in Utah. And I was paired with a couple. And as it was just the three of us, and we started talking, and they asked where I was from. And I said, Salt Lake. And I said, our daughter lives in Provo. And I went, oh, interesting. And the mother said, yeah, we have 4 children. And our second daughter was baptized. Well, she grew up here.
Right.
Second daughter was baptized. She's the only one in our family that's LDS, and she just graduated from BYU, and she has a job in Provo now. And I went, huh. So you have 4 children. I said, are you guys religious at all? I said, no, not really. We general spirituality, but she had friends in high school in Southern California, which is a pretty big LDS, footprint.
Laguna Beach.
20th
anniversary.
Shout out. I'm ready. I'm ready for LC.
For the reunion show?
I love LC like a sister. I want to be very clear.
Okay.
Stephen Coletti, generational run. Anyway, in Southern California, LDS friends, she decided to get baptized. And I said, was that hard for you? And the dad said, no, she went to BYU where they don't drink and, no, look.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Caveats with everything.
There's a reason I used to go down there when I was at the U all the time. Okay. You can have a good time down there. I'm just saying, that's all. But the point remains, like, if you're a parent and the redeeming thought is your teenager's about to go to a community where the things that terrify you are not supposed to happen, you can see the motivation for sending your child there for sure.
Top flight education as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I was down there last week just walking around, and I was like, man.
Could never, but, you know.
But it's an interesting place. And I have tremendous amount of love. Family members went there, best friends
For
went
sure.
there.
I went to basketball camp there every summer, man.
Yeah, you did.
I've got BYU All-Star plaques in my basement. I'm going to bring one in next time.
Okay.
Just for you.
All right.
So Scott Drew, who is Baylor's head coach, there were these rumors that Rob Wright had signed his contract with Baylor.
Yep.
And it was $1 million. And then BYU came to the table and said, okay, we'll give you $3 million. And then he left even though he'd signed a contract. Now, that doesn't make Rob unique. That seems to be happening quite a bit. So the rumors were corroborated when Scott Drew came out and was clearly very angry and said, we signed him, and he left. Was that ever addressed? Is that anything that was talked about? Because I've never heard anybody ask Kevin or Rob about it.
No, I don't think it was directly addressed. Probably should have asked him about that. Way to find it. Way to find the hole in my story.
No, I'm just like maybe maybe it didn't make the piece. Okay, we'll end on this because I know you got to get out of here. Insight on, dude, AJ is so good, and he's just getting better. And to me, last year, I watched a lot of these kids play AAU in high school because anyone that was covering basketball knew, like, this class had it. And 13 of the 15 top prospects are freshmen. I think 18 of the top 20 potential first-round picks are freshmen. Like, this class is ridiculous. It's not just AJ and Peterson and Boozer. I mean, Kingston Flemings, we could go on. Darius Acuff, who burst on the scene this year from Arkansas. When these guys played against each other last year, it was Darren. It was Darren Peterson. It wasn't close. You couldn't do anything with him. But now, after seeing what AJ does as the lights get brighter, I think he's the guy. I think he's, and I'll read your buddy's piece on Darren Peterson because I have a couple of theories myself. But last thing, what did you learn about AJ? What makes him tick? What are the redeeming thoughts about just the kind of kid he is?
Yeah, I asked Kevin what are the challenges of coaching a guy like AJ, especially down the stretch when you lose Richie, you have 5 season-ending injuries, 3 of them to very important pieces. AJ played 40-plus minutes or so 5 times in the last month of the season. And in an era when, you're thinking about guys maybe, asking out or not doing that, like I think beyond just the obvious of the best player on the court needs to play all the time, he's endearing himself to the NBA scouts that are saying, like, yeah, his legs were maybe gone in the fourth quarter because the jumper wasn't there because he's played 40 minutes 3 times in the last week. But the fact that he's able to do that and still be functional, I asked all the kind of nerdy basketball questions because I know that's what you care about. Like, what is AJ's most underrated quality? And Kevin said easily, like, the playmaking ability of him being able to pass the ball. Like, so many people think once he gets into the lane, he can take 2 or 3 guys on and get to the rim. He was like, there is very clearly an avenue at the next level where AJ can be as much of a facilitator as he is a scorer just because he draws so much attention once he gets into the lane with his size, strength, and speed. And, I think the most interesting answer that Kevin gave me, even though CJ and I talked to Kevin separately for, quite a bit, was like, well, how do you measure success this year when you have a guy like AJ? Based on the fact that you've lost so many guys, you've struggled down the stretch. Now they had a little bit of a bump in the Big 12 Conference Tournament. And Kevin didn't want to say, like, oh, we got to get to the Sweet 16 or be the first team in 45 years to make the Elite Eight. Kevin said, like, we want to play our best basketball at the right time. And to me, the success of the season can be defined by AJ being the number 1 overall pick.
And it might culminate in that.
Yep.
And what a moment that would be because the kid certainly has earned it. Who's your Final Four?
Ooh.
Did you fill out a bracket?
I did, bro.
Already?
Well, my buddies send out this ESPN tournament challenge, and I have to get on it. Otherwise, I'm going to forget.
Okay.
I'll tell you who I have winning it.
All right, let's
Can
hear.
you guess?
I'm going to say Arizona.
I'm so predictable.
No, I think they're
got
going
Arizona beating Houston in the final.
That's good. I like that.
And I have Duke. Is Michigan?
Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Duke,
So
Michigan,
kind of
Arizona,
chalk.
Houston.
I'm a little
Hey,
embarrassed.
no, look,
but
Ken Pomeroy yesterday broke it like this is the era of chalk.
Yep.
The better teams are separating themselves, and it's because they can pay more money.
Who's your Cinderella pick for this
I
tournament?
can't tell you.
Why? Oh,
I
for
haven't,
the show.
Well, I haven't filled mine out yet.
Okay.
I'm waiting because the tournament hasn't started yet. As we've discussed, the tournament starts tomorrow. So after these final dopey games are played, I'll fill out my bracket tonight, and then I'll reveal tomorrow.
I'm excited.
But I will give you a tease. I'm going to pick the same team to win the tournament that you just did.
Most complete team.
They're so good, dude.
But Arizona will probably lose in the Sweet 16 because they always do.
They have killed me so many times. Great to see you, my friend.
Right, man.
We didn't even talk about the lads. Give me a quick thought. Put 30 seconds on the clock. 3-1.
3-1. The fact that they've done this without Diego Luna, without Victor Olatunji, paying dividends.
Yeah.
But the difficult part comes when all these guys get healthy, as we saw last week. But Pablo Mastroeni proved to pull all the right strings.
Indeed.
And we didn't see a single tweet about it by a certain someone.
I know. Vibes guy. Good to see you. All right, Chris Camerati. Any drive to the basket begins with the first step on the court. That's the ultimate power move. IFA's Step 1 Crabgrass Preventer and Lawn Food is the first choice to give your yard the healthy, thick green look you admire. The neighbors will be green with envy. Shop IFA online at IFA.coop or stop by one of their neighborhood stores today. We will preview BYU, Texas, coming up with Spencer Linton. Still have Pablo Mastroeni himself, and then Dave Fox joins us. Busy Wednesday show. Keep it here on ESPN 700. All right, Pablo Mastroeni is going to join us, head coach of RSL. Red hot start for Real Salt Lake, 3-1 in their first 4. They hit the road to take on San Diego. That's a Sunday game on Apple TV. Dave Fox will stop by. I was on TV last night with Dave, a little talking jazz. You can check that out on KUTV.com. BYU basketball knows their opponent. It is Texas. After they won, I will call it a close game. I will not call it a good game against NC State. So let's break it down. Our buddy Spencer Linton, BYU TV on a Wednesday. What's up, man? How are you?
Spence, good to talk to you, brother. It is almost that time where we, on Christmas morning of sorts in March for basketball fans, get to unwrap the first round on that first Thursday of the NCAA tournament. It's, for me, the best sports weekend of the year.
I'm with you. It's my favorite time of year. I think it's the best event on the sporting calendar all year round. And I do want to know your Final Four, but we'll get there later on. Let's start with just a micro conversation about BYU before we get to BYU Texas, before we get to a potential run. You're around the team, you're around the coaches, you're around the players. They were able to recapture a bit of momentum down the stretch. You know, after losing Richie, it was expected they were going to take a dip, which they did, but they've turned things around. They look different. They won 3 of their Final 4, and they gave Houston a fight, and Houston is awesome. So the state of BYU basketball right now, Spencer, sounds like what?
Redefined again. This is, in many ways, a third, maybe fourth iteration of the team this year based on who has been available for different reasons and injuries and ineptitude in some capacity. But they have figured something out with their current construct of the roster. And Kevin Young, to his credit, found a way to motivate his guys and the right combination of guys to, in his words, dumb it down and play tougher, stronger, harder, faster, but to play a more simplified version specifically of defense on the basketball floor. And that, for whatever reason, has resonated with this crew. And now you're seeing guys like Dominic Diamande, who was buried on the bench for a majority of the year, now play above the rim and score 6 points a game over the last 4 and be an influential piece on defense. And you got role players like Moo Davis and Alexei Kostic making some critical 3-pointers and getting some big buckets to take some pressure off of A.J. Devonta and Rob Wright III. And for whatever reason, they just like the idea of playing a very simplified version of the defense that allows them to play harder and just try and out-physical, out-muscle, and outwork the opponents. And to your point, like they found something. It has resurrected this team to a degree to where they feel like, okay, we can go play with anybody, not just play with anybody. We can beat anyone. And they were in a one-possession game with Houston, in a third game in 3 days at the Big 12 tournament with Houston on fresh legs in the final minute. And credit to Kingston Flemings. That dude's just a rock star, knocked down a huge shot to kind of take any momentum out of BYU sails. And the Cougars ran out of gas, and by that I mean they took the ball out of A.J. Devonta's hands late in that game for reasons I'm not really sure, but they opted for that, and it came back to bite them. But all in all, like, teams feeling better and confident and like they have a more unified, simpler approach as they go into the NCAA tournament.
Houston just Bill Lambeard AJ. They just beat the you-know-what out of them. I mean, Kevin after the game, he went strong, and I got it. I mean, look, you never want to blame the refs, for a win or a loss. But I saw Houston up here, and I went down to Provo, watched them down there. That's just who they are. And, if BYU is going to do anything beyond winning a game or two, AJ is going to have to understand how to traverse coverage like that because everyone's going to try to do the same thing.
Texas absolutely is going to implement that approach. They will look at the last game BYU played and the frustration that Houston caused, and I'll be interested to see what the whistle is like from the officials in the NCAA tournament. Will it be a little more in favor of AJ, or will it be like a Big 12 whistle where it's like, well, this is physical basketball. It's March. Like, let's just let him play. I'm fascinated to see what it's going to be like tomorrow for both teams, because AJ creates a lot of fouls and a lot of free throw opportunities, but Texas as a team gets after it and does a lot of the same type of stuff. They create a lot of offense on the free throw line and draw a ton of fouls, led by their big man, Matas Volkaitis. Like they do the same thing, and they foul a lot. So will that benefit BYU? Will Texas's, I guess, the way they play and with how many fouls they generally commit, will that be a benefit for BYU depending on the officiating crew and how they call that game? Just one of many storylines I'm intrigued to see tomorrow in Portland.
Surprised to see the line come out and see BYU only favored by 1.5. Now, Texas is kind of an interesting team to consider. They beat Bama and Vandy back-to-back earlier. They've got a win over Georgia. But they had to really kind of sit with their nerves just to get into the tournament. The committee chair said they were the last team in, losing 5 of 6. So it's not like there's not talent on the floor. Sean Miller used to coach Arizona before. Well, I think this is the better matchup, Spencer, for BYU because NC State can get hot. If you didn't know that, watching the game last night, you'd be like, what are you talking about? But what does us come down to? A close game, Ken Pom 60% BYU. How do they get this done?
Well, a couple of things need to happen. One, BYU needs to come out and match Texas's physicality. I think that Texas is just going to come right out of the gate and try and punch BYU in the mouth physically and see what they can get away with. And 2 years ago when BYU lost to Duquesne in the NCAA tournament in a 6-11 matchup, Duquesne punched hard, and it took BYU a long time to enter the combat zone. Last year, under Kevin Young in his first year, VCU didn't punch as hard as Duquesne, but they played physical, but BYU was ready for it. Like they had learned from it. But you don't have Richie Saunders in the lineup. You don't have Dawson Baker. You don't have Nate Pickens. Those are your 3 senior veteran leader guys. How does this BYU team with a bunch of young players and a bunch of guys that have not played in the NCAA tournament really yet other than like Rob right there, how do they respond to this? I know Cava's played in the tournament, but how does a guy like Kennard Davis handle this? What does Hadim Boop do? What do Kostic and Diamande and what do those guys do with this high pressure on? So for me, it's really important that BYU enters the combat zone early, that they punch right back. They play with a physical nature like they did in the Big 12 tournament against most notably West Virginia, who's a strong defensive-minded team, and Houston. Carry that over, and I think you'll be okay. Texas might have a halftime lead by 4, 6, 8 points. I'm not that concerned about that because BYU's offense seemingly gets better as the game goes on. By the analytics, BYU is the best second-half team in the country in large part, which I know is frustrating for BYU fans to watch, but that's who they are. And so if Texas has a 4 to 8 point halftime lead, not a huge deal. I'm waiting to see if Houston can keep pace with BYU's top 10 efficient offense in the country for a full 40 minutes. Texas is going to have to outscore BYU. I think 1st to 80 wins this game. And, I'll stand by that. So how does BYU get it done? Get to 80 first, get physical right back with Texas tomorrow when they come out of the gate and try and get you off kilter, and just play the full 40 minutes on fresh legs. And I think that Texas will eventually run out of gas.
Just had Chris Comrani in studio, and he and his buddy from The Athletic just wrote a really good piece on BYU basketball. He spent some time with Kevin. Asked Kevin Young the most underrated part of AJ's game, and he said his playmaking, his passing. When he gets into the lane and draws defenders, he finds his teammates. They're going to have to knock down open shots. And by there, I'm saying everybody outside of AJ and everybody outside of Rob, because we know what we're going to get from them most likely. We know that Texas is going to stunt and blitz and gap and try to get the ball out of AJ's hands and probably try to limit what Rob can do as well. Who are the others when they have the open jumper, when they have the open corner 3? To me, that's what this is going to come down to. Who are going to be making those shots, Spencer?
It's got to be the 2 guys that I've referenced earlier, Alexei Kostic, who's been the most consistent three-point shooter for BYU off the bench, and a re-engaged Kennard Davis. I know that he struggled against Houston, but he shot the ball really well against Texas Tech in BYU's regular season finale in a big win. and he shot it pretty well against Kansas State and West Virginia. I think he has to be a guy that scores between 12 and 16 points and knocks down 2 or 3 big threes. Kostic probably needs to make a couple of big threes. Rob Wright will have his opportunities playing off the ball because I think Kevin Young is going to put the ball in AJ's hands a lot as the primary point forward or point wing, and they're going to try and get Rob some open looks from the perimeter as well. And he's been really good. He shot over 40% for the season from the three-point line. Hasn't shot a ton from beyond the arc, relatively speaking, especially in this current construct of college basketball. But there will be opportunities for Rob as well. But I mean, other than those two, it's got to be Kennard Davis and Alexei Kostic. One of those guys needs to see one of their early threes go down. One of those two needs to have some confidence to put some pressure back on Texas. And if one of those guys gets going and they force Texas now to have to readjust, watch out. Then the AJ show just takes off. And I think this BYU team could eventually win this game by 8 to 10 points.
What are you willing to say that you think BYU can do as far as this potential run? Now, the second round matchup, unless Kennesaw State rises up, will most likely be Gonzaga. But Braden Huff isn't going to play. He hasn't played for a while now, and they've got other pieces. The depth on that team is real. They're one of Mark Few's best defensive clubs, top to bottom. And if BYU is only favored by 1.5 points against Texas, I don't know what the line would look like against Gonzaga. We had Casey Jacobson on yesterday. He's picking BYU to go to the Elite Eight, which I thought was interesting. But what are you willing to say? How expanded are you allowed your mind to be during this time of year?
I have BYU going to the Sweet 16 in my bracket, and I don't think it's that much of a reach. Although Gonzaga is playing in their backyard of sorts, a 5-hour drive from Spokane, I think there's a good contingent of BYU fans that are in the Pacific Northwest that will make their presence felt, and they'll be loud. And the NCAA tournament, while it is advantageous to play close to home, the Moda Center is not the type of venue that is going to be absolutely overrun by Gonzaga fans. It won't. There will be enough locals and enough BYU fans to get in there that will make it feel a little bit more like a true neutral game. So while the Zags will have a potential home court advantage of sorts, if they get to that second round game against BYU, I actually like the matchup for the Cougars against this specific Gonzaga team. Gonzaga doesn't shoot it particularly well from the three-point line like they have at times in years past. They do play great defense, and not surprisingly, they're well coached and disciplined and execute at a high level on the defensive side of the floor. What they do well, and it could be problematic for BYU, is score in the paint. And Graham Ike he's essentially a JT Toppin type player, but out of the West Coast Conference. I mean, he's averaging, I want to say 19 points and 8 rebounds. He's one of maybe 7 or 8 players in the country to average those type of statistics. So they do score in the paint. He gets people in foul trouble. That could be really problematic for BYU with Keba Keita and Vito Ahmed, who have had foul trouble concerns in several games this year. But so that's where Gonzaga will have an advantage against BYU. But if BYU can get AJ going, and again they can find some other guys to make some threes, they could really put some pressure on the Zags, and they could win that game. And BYU, when your offense is the 10th best efficiency team in the country on the offensive side of the ball for the season, you're doing some things right. BYU will score. They found a way to score against Houston. They found a way to score against a bunch of good Big 12 teams. They're going to score against Gonzaga, but can they limit Graham Ike, and then can they defend the three-point line, hopefully, with the Zags kind of having a situation where they don't shoot it like they have done much of the season from the three-point line. Because if the Zags make threes, good night, Spence. The Zags are going to be in Sweet 16, and it's over for the Cougars.
Yeah, and then additionally, the interior stuff, both on offense and defense. And, if you get Texas Tech, Keba Keita, I think that's what you want. You don't need him to go for 20, just get 11 boards and be active. He's never going to be the most skilled offensive player, but with a guy that's built like that, that jumps like that, you just got to get like a B- game from Keba And then the Abdullah Ahmed kid. What are his contributions? Because for all the brilliance of AJ and Rob, the bigs are, you're going to see a lot of teams with size starting starting on Friday. How confident are you in both Keba and Abdullah Ahmed that they can at least give you what you need on the interior?
Well, I'm confident that Keba will show up. He's got his favorite guy, Richie Saunders, in his corner traveling with the team. And, I it's somewhat joke about that, but, like, Keba's a different player when Richie is around him and coaching him during every timeout. Like, he just is. And I know it seems trivial, but it has been a different type of player when Richie's on the bench, and specifically calling out Keba when he's not giving enough of an effort. He's out of position. Like, he's another coach on the bench, and Richie has Keba's ear. So I think that Texas Tech Keba will be activated, and I think that Richie's presence will be felt by him. I think he's ready for the challenge. His thing tomorrow is, can you avoid foul trouble against the Texas Bigs and then carry that over to a potential matchup with Gonzaga and Graham Ike. You don't need Keba to score, but you need him to play defense. You need him to get the 50-50 basketballs, and gosh dang it, you need him to rebound super hard. And I think he's capable of doing that. Can he just stay on the floor long enough and be out of foul trouble? Then he'll be able to give you that B- performance that you referenced. Because if he does get in foul trouble and BYU is going to have to rely on Beto Ahmed, then that's trouble. Skilled big men have given him fits this year. He's a good rim protector at times, good shot blocker, but he too struggles with foul calls and being out of position. The simplified defense that Kevin Young has implemented has helped slow the game down a little bit for Abdullah Ahmed, but the more Keba the BYU can get and keep him on the floor longer and keep him out of foul trouble, the better. And he should be able to give BYU what they need. Just got to have him on the floor. He's got to be available for this team to get to the Sweet 16.
All right, before I say you loose, let me get a thought from you on this. So last year, because anyone who was covering basketball knew that this freshman class was going to be insane. So last year there were a ton of like AAU games, high school basketball tournaments on a bunch of different platforms, and so you're able to watch AJ and you're able to watch Darren Peterson, and I could keep going. Kingston Fleming's like 13 of the top 15 prospects this year are freshmen. And if you watched last year, AJ was awesome, but Darren Peterson was the guy. AJ was awesome, but Darren Peterson was the guy. I feel like that's shifted, and a lot of it is I don't think he's healthy. That's just my opinion. He doesn't look as explosive, and AJ has capitalized on the moment. I think he's the number one pick. For Jazz fans that are hoping and praying and fasting and giving tithing and all the things you need to do to hope that at some point they get the number one pick. If it is AJ, what have you learned about him? What is he going to be like as a pro?
That he is absolutely ready for the moment, not just on the floor, but the way he carries himself off the floor too. I learned a lot about AJ interacting with him in some cases on a day-to-day basis and his family and just getting to know them. And his maturity is not fake. His dad has worked really hard with him on how to handle adversity and success and praise and critiques, and to not get caught in a vacuum of, a stretch of if he doesn't play well for a couple of games, or if he's amazing for 4 games, not to let it go to his head too much. But specifically, I loved how he answered the question when being asked about not being named the player of the year in the Big 12. That is AJ to the core. It is not lip service. It's not fake. But when he said, well, yeah, I was a little disappointed, but my team needed to win more games, and I needed to help my team win more games. I was like, wow, that is an incredibly mature response, but that's who he is. I like his interactions with the national media. I like his dedication to the craft. I like that if he doesn't see eye to eye with one of his teammates or his coach at times, that he doesn't go public and throw anyone under the bus, and he doesn't get weird and cryptic. It's not him. I know he had some fun with, well, maybe this is my last game in a BYU uniform at the Marriott Center. I know he had some fun with that. Like, look, he's going pro. We all know it, and that's why he was smiling at the camera. But outside of that tongue-in-cheek stuff, he has worked really hard to build a character and a persona that any NBA coach would be lucky to have. He will outwork the competition. Like, he's a relentless worker, and he loves basketball. I mean, he loves anything and everything about it. Comes from a good family, a grounded family. Dad who grinded, as a police officer in Boston and took odd jobs. And I mean, but just worked to give his son a better life. And he reminds AJ often, like, look, you need to implement these same principles while you have an incredible talent. Like, remember where you came from. Remember that you're part of something way bigger. Family matters, and that you work hard, and that's what's going to grant you success in life. Like, if the Jazz got him, oh my gosh, that would be incredible. Because they would be so lucky to have him. The dude will just be a relentless worker. He's going to be an all-star for a decade at least, I think.
All right, buddy, good stuff today. Hopefully they can do something. It's always fun when our local teams are winning in the tournament. Thanks for the time. Travel safe, okay?
You got it, brother. Thanks, Spence. Always good to talk to you.
Spencer Litton, BYU TV. BYU takes on Texas tomorrow. First round of the NCAA tournament, 5:25 Mountain Time on TBS. All right, before we catch a break, my friend Shelly from Wasatch Medical Spa is live in studio once again. Shelly, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Spence.
It's excellent to see you. So I need to put a caveat on this. If there are children in the car and you're not comfortable with them hearing about men's sexual wellness, just turn the radio down for a second. But we are going to talk about it because, Shelly, we need to talk about things like this, don't we?
We do. A lot of men don't want to talk about it or admit that there's an issue, but it's very prevalent.
It is. And I will just say right off the bat, you have been kind enough to have me in to Wasatch Medical Spa to go through these treatments. Today I went through my second treatment. I don't have an issue. And when you offered it, I said, is there any downside to this? So for this segment, I'd like to talk about men who have a relatively healthy sexual lifestyle and don't feel like they need this. And that's where I came in. And you said, look, it can only enhance and oftentimes is preventative for issues down the line. I'm a Northeast kid. I'm as skeptical as anyone about everything. And I'm just here to tell my listeners after 2 treatments, it works. It really does. Let's just start with an explanation. What do you want our listeners to know?
Okay, so Apex RF is a heat treatment with radio frequency heat to help improve blood flow, sensation, and erections. And about 52% of men aged 40 to 70 have some form of ED, where maybe it's just not a strong erection or the duration isn't as long as it used to be. And so it can enhance people who don't have issues. It can help enhance size, girth, sensation, duration. But it can also be preventative as well, because everyone is going to have age-related changes as they age.
Yeah.
And so it will just help to push that off or to prevent it.
Yeah. So oftentimes when listeners hear services such as this, they think, well, I don't have erectile dysfunction. It's not only about that. Now, it can help with that. Let's be clear. If you're in that boat, this is something you should look at. So I'll just ask you, who are the candidates, Shelly, for this treatment?
So anyone that wants to prevent age-related changes with their erections, anyone who has any vascular issues or diabetes, because those things will affect the duration and the quality of the erection.
Yeah.
So anyone who's trying to prevent, anyone who wants better sensation, anyone who struggles with ED.
And ultimately, the most important thing is how the partners are reacting to the treatment, whether or not they're seeing a difference. And I've been able to get to know a lot of people that work for you, a lot of the women that, and they're all very, very nice. It's a wonderful, comfortable, nice, safe facility. We'll tell you where it is in a moment. And I've asked them all the same thing. What did have you noticed the change in your husband since they've gone through the treatment? And they all, with a big smile on their face, say they very much have.
Yes, and it helps the wife too.
Yeah.
It helps the partner with improved sensation or shorter time to climax. It really is improving things for your partner as well.
Indeed. And I can tell you, since I've gone through it twice, it doesn't hurt at all. In fact, it actually feels good. I almost fell asleep today. It was very nice. Now, you're good enough to bring a very special offer for my listeners today who come to the table. Let's hear about it, Shelly.
Okay, so those of you who mention the radio ad, you will get 50% off your first treatment Typically, you're going to need 4 to 6 treatments to notice improvement. And you'll get 50% off that first treatment, which is a $300 savings, as well as a free consult with that first treatment.
$300 off, a free consultation with no obligation. I'm telling you, it works. I was skeptical. I've done it twice. I'm going to go through it 6 times. I would highly recommend it, okay? $300 off and a free consultation. Go to wasatchmedicalspa.com right now. It's wasatchmedicalspa.com. Book that consultation, and then make sure to tell them that you heard me talking about it on the show. $300 off, and then a free consultation. It's in Mill Creek, just so you know, 2505 East, 3300 South in Mill Creek. Our friends at Wasatch Medical Spa. Shelley, thank you.
Thank you, Spence.
Okay, we'll catch a break. We're going to bring in Pablo Mastroianni coming up next on ESPN 700. tough task for RSL coming up. It's a Sunday tilt against a really good San Diego team. But for now, things have gone unbelievably well. Red hot start, 3-1, 3 straight wins. Looking for their 4th straight win, which has not happened since, I think, 2013. Our next guest is the man pulling the strings. He's the head coach. He's Pablo Mastroeni. Hello, sir. How are you?
Great, Spence. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. Is it as warm and nice out south as it is downtown?
Holy smokes, man. It is warm.
Okay. Well, then I know you got your sunlight exposure. There's no doubt about that. What I got to imagine right now, being around this group is just a lot of fun. That's just what winning does in sports, yeah?
Yeah. No, it's so funny that you say that because today I showed we did a recap and just showing how good defending leads to attacking, and the game-winning goal came from Noel Kaliskin jumping out of the midfield, pressing their pivot, pressing their center back, pressing their goalkeeper throwing it out, kicking it out for a throw-in, and then from that we scored the goal. And it's so funny because as the play's happening, the guys watching the film are like, ooh. And then obviously, and so anyway, it's just like there's all kinds of different video sessions, and I think the best ones is when there's good vibes and there's good feelings, and so. It's really been a pleasure to be working with these guys, and obviously everyone's in a great way at the moment.
So before we get to just like specific things about Austin, since you joined us last week, I'm going to ask you just an overview 30,000-foot question as to what you attribute these results to the most. I mean, obviously it's the work you put in, it's the talent on the field. You can go tactical, but you're 3-1. You've won 3 straight. What's clicking? What's working right now?
I just think the buy-in from the group. I think that sometimes there's always silver lining in not having players that you anticipate starting the season with, and that's one, other guys get an opportunity, but also everyone understands that because we don't have Victor, and we didn't have Morgan the first game, we didn't have Diego Luna. There's so many players that are new that everyone else has to really pick up their game and be laser focused. And then also be great teammates and not make excuses for not getting the results. And so for me, it's really about the buy-in from the group. And what you want when you get a little bit of when you get the positive results early on, it validates all the work that we did in the preseason. And one of the mantras for me was we got to become a better defensive team. And in doing so, we'll create more opportunities in transition. And we've scored, I think, three goals in transition so far this year, where last year I think we finished the season with 1, right? So in 4 games we have 3. And then every game we're trying to really improve a certain phase. But for me, all these things I've talked about from a tactical perspective it can only happen if you have buy-in. And then you have the youngers that are stepping up and playing big, and so, everything just seems to be coming together at the right time. And that's what I attribute it to. It's really the people in the building before it is the players. And when you have great people, and regardless of what business you're in, the chances of being successful are increase exponentially.
I don't really know how to describe this, so I'm just going to tell you what my experience was, and then I want you to kind of take us behind the scenes with the group. Mm-hmm. In years past, respectfully, and not just you coaching RSL, but other RSL teams as well, in years past, watching the club conceding a goal first, I would get this pit in my stomach like, oh, we're screwed. And on Saturday, they scored, and I'm like, we're all right. Like, it didn't really even – I thought you guys were going to be able to – now, look, we'll get to Stein's goal. It took a minute, but I didn't have this, like, doom feeling that you guys were in trouble. How did the group react when you conceded first?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I think it's like getting punched in the face. And I think, as you rightly pointed out, typically the natural human behavior is to, like, touch your lip, look at the blood, and go – you know what, I'm not up for this. And the guys responded the other way, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to get punched in the face because I'm in the arena, right? I'm vulnerable in this moment. It's really about reactions. And I just feel like we kind of grew into the game. And, and I think when you score a goal, or when the other team scores a known goal, but the actions were really good, now the tables turn, and now we have momentum. Because now we're at home. Now we're even more full of belief. So I think the the important part there is how quickly we were able to strike back. The longer it goes on, obviously, the more doubt goes in and more frustration settles. But I think the fact that we were able to find, a tying goal so quick from conceding was critical for the psyche of the group and the belief that we were going to win the game.
So let's move over to Stein's strike. I did some quick math. If Stein scores a goal every 9 minutes and plays reliable MLS starting minutes, he's going to score 300 goals this year. So there's good news there. Look, he's a central holding mid, right? And we talk often about Becker bombs, the way Kyle used to randomly just bomb one in, and he didn't even look up. Didn't even look up. Just a great strike, and what a moment for another debutant scoring in his first game for you.
Listen, it couldn't have worked out better. One of the things that has been really important for me with all the guys coming in is putting them in the best position to have a great performance, whether it's 10, 15, 20, 30, regardless of what it is to make sure that they're in a position to feel good about themselves, that the teammates feel good about them, so that we can continue to build this thing. And obviously, when you score a goal like that, it's a great way to ingratiate yourself into the group. He's been a great guy to have around before he was playing, but even today in training, you saw a different Stein than you saw last week, right? And so that confidence is there. And I think that goal is here's something else to note is that Stein was a 10 early on in his career. And it took a move outside of the Netherlands. And he ran into a coach that said, you know what, you're going to be my pivot. And so he had to actually learn defending later on in his career, but he started his career as a 10. So he's got an eye for goal. He's got a good shot. And I think unless you have that experience, you always have to look up. And and this is where experience and quality comes in, is the field is marked for a reason. It's to give you perspective as to where you are. And so I think that comes from years of experience of understanding where you are in the field. And you don't have to look all the way up to see where the 18 is. And obviously having the wherewithal to understand that if I don't look up, I'm not giving anything away to the goalkeeper. And so it was a really well-struck ball. The goalkeeper had no idea that he was going to shoot. And that makes it the better of a shot and the execution. So, and again, Stein is a really experienced player. And just looking at him with that gave me a different perspective where we always want to have one pivot a little bit higher defensively, and typically one that could actually contribute to the score sheet. And watching him do that gives me a different perspective than I had before we even brought him in. So really excited about how he integrated into the group, and now it's about getting him minutes, getting him up to speed to really build a really solid midfield four and continuing to build the attack with Diego Luna and Victor Olatunji, and then getting guys like, DeAndre back into the back line along with Juan, who's been injured when he came over from Colombia. So slowly but surely, it's a lot easier to integrate players when you're in a winning when you're winning games.
And we should call it how it is. It takes a certain amount of confidence to sport a mullet. I mean, nobody does that anymore. It's a dated hairstyle, and it's like the guy that has the neck tattoo. You don't want to mess with that guy. If a guy's sporting a mullet, Pablo, he's got a little confidence.
It's business, yeah. And he's got a tash to go with it too. I don't know if you can see that, but he's got a mullet and a little mustache. So, here's a guy that truly believes.
Truly believes, he says. There was a fun social media video circulating. I think it was Instagram. I'm not sure who the social media the person in charge of that is, but it was a fun little kind of exercise they did prior to training. And it seems like, and look, in sports, when you win, the air feels better, the food tastes better, you're sleeping a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But it does feel like there's a connection with these guys. They were having a lot of fun with each other. Who's keeping the group loose? Who is that guy on the team?
Well, to be fair, there's a handful of them. I think you see the best version of people when you're doing great at your job. And people are speaking to you, and you feel confident in what you're doing. And one of the things, I'd say is when we're in preseason and we finish meals, typically teams will get up after the meal and then they'll go their own ways. But really from the start, and when we were in Portugal, These guys were sitting around a table. The meal was done, right? Us coaches are always sitting there because we're always planning and preparing. But these guys were the meal, and so the rapport and the trust within the group is really high, and it allows guys to be their true selves, you know. And I think Jake Ladd is the guy that makes it really light. You know, he's one of the more respected players in the locker room, and when he's light, it's always great, you know. But I think as a group, I wouldn't say that there's any one guy that's leading that. It's really all of them, and the fact that guys like Gozo and Aiden, you know, Gozo, for example, you know, we have new guys sing. You know, we have the new guys sing when they come into the group after a meal on the road, and Gozo decided that he wanted to sing. Like, this is a guy that's, you know, doing something above and beyond because he feels so comfortable with the team. So it's been really, really positive.
Did you just get into a spaceship? Are you flying to the moon? What's going on?
Yeah, my wife and I are actually going to go hit some balls on the range.
Wait, are you with your wife right now?
I am.
Can I ask her a few questions?
Yeah, she's you're on speaker here.
Okay, what's her name again?
Kelly.
Kelly, Spence Checketts, really nice to meet you. Does Pablo snore?
Does not.
He does not snore. What's the okay?
Dogs that snore, but
Oh,
he does not.
what's Pablo's most annoying habit at home? Does he take out the trash?
He does, because I'm not usually here, so he has to.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to get you to say anything bad about your husband on the radio, am I?
Probably not.
What are your three most favorite qualities about Pablo?
His loyalty, his courage, and he wears his heart on.
How are you liking Salt Lake? I know you don't live here full time, but do you enjoy being here? Is that it? Did I lose her? Is that it? Was that too tough of a question, Pablo?
No, the connection was a little bit light, so now you're on.
Okay, I've got one more question for her, and then we'll go back to you. You have watched your husband coach a lot of teams. You have watched your husband coach a lot of good teams. Do you get a feeling that this might be one of the best teams that he's coached?
I think this is the year that he goes all the way.
Look at this.
Definitely the best group he has been a part of.
Look at this. Pablo, you found a good one, didn't you? I don't think I've ever met your bride, but it sounds like you got a good one to ride with you, yeah?
We've been together since high school, Spence.
Oh,
so
nice.
There's no stone unturned, and you know, and to be fair, you know, in professional sports and in coaching, is if you don't have a wife that's your rock, then it's almost impossible. You need someone to lean on because there's more bad times than there are good, and Kelly has been that person for me.
I love hearing that, man. Love hearing that because obviously one of the big things about RSL, and this is one of the things we tried to instill in 2004, is we want that place to feel like a family. Does it feel like a family this year?
It really does, you know. And like yesterday, I did an appearance at AFF2, and I was doing the interviews, and Kelly was with Jason Christ shooting the breeze, and she felt really comfortable, and so it really does feel that way. There's been a lot of transition in the last couple of years, but I think, you know, with the Miller fan, you know, and Christ into kind of oversee the soccer thing, and him instilling his beliefs and views into how he wants the club to resemble and reflect the community. It really been fantastic within the clubhouse. The coaches have. And so I feel like I'm kind of in wonderland as far as the professional sports world is concerned, where I feel like everyone has each other's backs, and that's not an easy thing to say.
No, it's not. Hey, look, bud, since you are with your lovely bride, Kelly, and you're going to hit golf balls, I'm not going to make you talk to me any longer. I will set you loose. Kelly, thanks for being a good sport. You guys have fun. Pops, will chat soon, okay?
Thanks, bud.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
All right. Pablo Mastroeni and his wife, Kelly. Look at that. A random pop in there. Apologies for the connection issues. I've never met Kelly. I think she lives in Colorado full time where Pablo is the coach. So awesome that she can be along his side. And sounds like they've got a really rock solid thing. That's good to hear. They're back in action on Sunday. Reminder, it's San Diego. It's 5 o'clock. It's Apple Television. Coming up tomorrow, 10:35 KMYU, we will do our 5th episode of Talkin' Real. Look back on the win against Austin. Look ahead to a really quality San Diego side. RSL is back at home, not until April the 4th. That's going to be Kansas City. That'll be 2:30 on a Saturday. Go to rsl.com for ticketing options, single game and season ticket options as well. Been a really fun start. They look like they're a very, very quality side, so we'll continue to cheer for our guys. All right, joining me live in studio once again is my friend Shelly from Wasatch Medical Spa. Shelly, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Spence.
It's great to see you. Thank you for the time. So we just interviewed a husband and a wife. That's important because you're helping couples, and that is a very important thing. And I do need to say, for any of our listeners right now, we're about to talk about men's sexual wellness. If you have kids in the car and that makes you uncomfortable, just turn the radio down for a minute. But Shelly runs a place called Wasatch Medical Spa, and she's been good enough to allow me the opportunity to go through these treatments, and I've done 2 of them. And as I referenced earlier, I'm a Northeast boy that's as skeptical about people and treatment and everything skeptical, but like, okay, you're trying to sell something, like what's real here? And I love that you've allowed me to do this because I can say into this microphone, this stuff actually works. This market has been a little bit injured by charlatans who have kind of sold some things to help people out, and then they didn't work, and then suddenly they leave town with millions of dollars. This is not a sales pitch. This is a thing that you have. It's new technology where you're helping men on the scale of full erectile dysfunction, or like me, a healthy man that doesn't have issues in that direction, just to enhance my experience and also add a preventative layer so I don't run into issues down the line. Who are the candidates at Wasatch Medical Spa?
Basically, anyone who's struggling with ED, mild to moderate ED, anyone with a little bit of sexual dysfunction, or anyone trying to prevent those things from happening with the age-related changes.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the process. So the first time you came in studio, before I had a chance to go through these treatments, you kind of described it a little bit. And so I didn't really know what to expect. It doesn't hurt at all. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It feels good. You're going to almost fall asleep because it's very relaxing. What's the process like, Shelly?
So in our practice, I've been a board-certified nurse practitioner for 23 years, and we have an integrative medicine practice. And we're always looking for the latest and greatest cutting-edge, non-invasive, research-based technologies to help improve the health and wellness of our clients. So Apex RF is just that. We're the first in Utah to offer this RF, or radio frequency heat treatment, that helps improve blood flow and helps improve damaged vessels from nerve damage and blood vessel damage from diabetes or insulin resistance. And so it's just heat to the area. It's very comfortable, and it improves size, girth, sensation, and duration, while also enhancing partner satisfaction.
It improves size and girth in a shocking way pretty instantly, which was wild to me. Again, very skeptical about whether or not this thing was going to work, and it really does. As it pertains to, I'm sure if there are listeners that have had issues before, they might be on other medication. Can you combine this with other medication? Does it eventually replace the medication? What does that look like?
You can absolutely combine it with the medication. Some of those medications stop working over time. And so if you are doing the Apex RF treatments, it may end up replacing those medications.
Okay. Let's move into the space of just your facility and your staff. They're lovely. They're very nice. They make you feel very comfortable. And they're all very highly trained. You take that very seriously, don't you?
Yes, all of my staff are extremely bright women. It's an all-women staff, and they all come from varying backgrounds in education, but all very educated, and we place education number one in our practice. We are always training on new technologies, new research on hormones, or whatever modality it may be that we offer.
Okay, before I set you loose for this segment, you have a special offer that makes this a no-brainer for my listeners. Let's hear about it.
Okay, so anyone who mentions this radio call will get will get $300 off their first treatment, which is 50% off, and a free consultation. So be prepared for a consultation and a first treatment, and you'll get 50% off.
There you go. So go to wasatchmedicalspa.com right now. That's wasatchmedicalspa.com, wasatchmedicalspa.com. Book the consultation. Tell them you heard this spot. $300 off and a free consultation with no obligation. And one more time, I will reiterate, I can now give my personal endorsement that this is real. WasatchMedicalSpa.com. All right, Dave Fox live in studio coming up next on ESPN 700. Got a lot going on.
Oh my gosh,
We're,
so much.
we're
going
gonna
on.
figure it all out. Everything's gonna be fine. Okay. I'm gonna be the adult in the room and tell everybody that everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna figure it out. It is all gonna work out, no matter what. Okay.
Got it.
You all right?
I think so.
Okay. You got a lot going on, don't you?
Ton going on. You and I both.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's this collaboration we have going on is it's busy, but it's good busy.
It's busy, but it's going to iron itself out, and everyone's going to get what they need. And
because you and I had a discussion like literally 20 seconds before we went on the air, and my jaw was on the floor.
Are you?
We got to figure that out.
Are you not confident in the ability to get things kind of settled? Things take time, Dave.
Yeah,
we're just starting.
I'm going through this in my head, and there might be a way to make the issue we were just talking about work.
There's a way to make all issues work.
Yeah.
That's a wise man once told me. Problems are inevitable, but they're also soluble. You can solve them.
Solvable.
No, it's soluble.
Soluble.
It is. You need to look it up. It's a great book that I'm going to recommend to you.
Soluble.
Problems are inevitable, Dave.
I
You know
love
what?
reading.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I've read a couple of
You're
fun books.
kidding me. What, good night moon to your grandkids? We're going to do some box breathing. You ready? In through the nose for 4. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3. No, not like that.
Okay. Oh, just one breath.
In through the nose. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. Now out for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you here? Are you with me?
Yeah,
Are you centered?
I almost passed out.
Are you in the moment?
Fine.
Okay, Dave. We're going to figure this out. It's going to be okay.
Okay.
We're launching a podcast.
Yes, we are.
On Friday, which is
Checketts.
exciting because my first guest is Morgan Scally.
Incredible.
Yes, thank you. There you are.
Right out of the gate.
Yes.
He's got camp, by the way.
My guy.
And he's still making time. And this podcast, by the way, is live.
Yes, it is.
Right between the NCAA tournament games on CBS at 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
And he's coming down to do that. That's exciting. I'm
Yes.
so excited about that. And we have 2 weeks in a row. But now I find out we might be rescheduling the
Oh, you
second
mean
one.
because I told you I was going out of town a month
I don't
ago?
know how I missed that.
Well, I've got text to prove
We'll
it,
figure
Dave.
out a way to like record it before you go. Or
We're
going
gonna
to
do,
on Monday
or
something.
we take a week off and we resume.
That doesn't work because it's the NCAA tournament thing, and
We're
that's Kent's big thing.
Well, how about this? We replay my interview with Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
There you go. I just solved another one of your programming issues.
Okay, I'll talk to the big man.
We're really hashing this out on live air.
Let's move on.
Kent, if you're listening, I got you, pal. Don't worry about it. We're gonna figure this out.
Okay.
Because Dave, I need vacation, man. This has been
Good for
ridiculous.
you to go to Cabo, though.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm getting out of town for a minute.
Can you delay that a week?
I cannot. I cannot. The flights are booked. The hotels are paid for.
Can you do a podcast from Cabo?
No. There's zero chance I'm working on my vacation. None.
Are you staying at a resort? Be careful that you don't want to go to Cabo right now.
I
There's some
do.
unrest.
Okay, stop watching
What
Fox
happened
News.
on that?
We're not getting into that today. Where I'm going is safe. I can promise you that.
Is it one of those all-inclusive?
No, it's not an all-inclusive. I don't like cruises like you. I don't like all-inclusive
No, not
places
cruise,
like you.
but like
You like
I
cruises.
stayed at a place called the Moon Palace,
Okay.
and it was fantastic.
Where was this?
I think it's Cabo.
Okay. And you
Is it
felt safe.
Cabo?
And you felt safe.
Yeah,
Okay.
we never left the facility.
The problem with all-inclusive places is the food is horrible.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
You're right.
And the same thing with cruises.
The cruises, I'm going to disagree with you. The Disney cruise food's pretty good.
The Disney cruise
Yeah,
food
it's-
is not.
Have you ever been on a Disney
I
cruise?
have. I took Connor when he was 5. He loved
Oh,
it, but
good.
he was 5.
They had chicken nuggets.
Yeah,
right?
you love it because
And
they
ice
have
cream.
cheese quesadillas. Your favorite.
They do, in fact.
You love a cheese quesadilla, don't you?
Yeah, I really do.
What's a typical Dave Fox
Or a-
dietary day like? What do you eat when you wake
no,
up?
I don't just love I'll go down to Lee sometime and get their sliced brisket,
Lovely.
and I'll stretch that over like 3 days
Okay.
because it's really good. And
Lee's
I
is a
take
good spot.
End cuts. So and I always love a good steak.
But you wake up in the morning. Are we talking eggs? Are we
I
talking
usually
shake?
don't eat much breakfast.
Okay.
to
So we
be
skip
quite
breakfast.
honest.
We're intermittently fasting.
Occasionally, Kath and I will go to like Kneaders or Great Harvest and do breakfast.
Okay. This is Breakfast by Bountiful.
Yeah.
In case you're
Then
wondering.
lunch, sometimes we'll go, same thing. We eat out a lot.
That doesn't surprise
When
me.
you're an empty nesters, it's just kind of the way it works. And
So-
then whatever's left over in the house, I'll throw together a quesadilla.
Lovely. I know you will. So when you're waiting at the house and the cleaning ladies show up and you go to lunch while they clean your domicile, what is it, a sandwich?
We might go to like El Matador.
Love me some El Matador. Shout
you
out.
know that.
Again, this is Dinner
I
by
see
Bountiful.
Lowell there all the time.
Lowell loved himself
Yeah,
some El
yes, he
Matador.
did.
El Matador.
So, those kind of, we have a little rotation out there.
You remember CarMax?
Oh, my gosh. A staple.
Yeah, bring
of you and I in high school.
Bring Carmack.
Yes.
You and I in high school is not similar, Dave.
Well, okay, they're decades apart, but I literally would spend some classes at Carmack's at the bar.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, what was the Carmack? Don Carmack.
Good knowledge.
He would make the donuts fresh.
Yes, he would.
The drinks were just cold. I mean, I loved it.
Is it true that they closed because of a fire?
That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
And then they tried to reopen it in a different location. Didn't work.
No, we need it in that location.
Yeah, yep.
And we need, is Don no longer with us?
I don't honestly know.
Okay.
Still right. But what a great guy.
Lowell loved himself some Carmax.
Yes, it was so good.
So
they had the cinnamon rolls and the donuts, and that's all they had.
Stop it. So good.
Yeah.
So I knew my grandma was out of town when I came home from school.
Oh, no.
And I would open up the fridge, and there would be 2 chocolate donuts from Dan's, 4 IFBC root beers, and a note on the counter with a $20 bill for my grandpa saying, go down to Carmax. This is what we're doing for dinner.
Well, because they would cook burgers, too.
Yeah,
they were sensational.
That's when Connie was traveling. When Connie was here, she was cooking healthy stuff, and Lowell wasn't a huge fan of that. My man wanted a burger.
Yeah.
I loved, towards the end of his life, and may he rest in peace, I loved my grandpa.
He's the best.
Wherever we went, he would order spaghetti and meatballs. Wherever. We'd be at a Mexican restaurant. He just... My man knew that he was on his last. My man wanted spaghetti and meatballs and a root beer, no matter where we were.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Sometimes Kath and I will just cook noodles and put cheese on them.
Okay.
And then we call it noodles and cheese if we're watching a game at home, not going anywhere.
There you go. Healthy.
Mandarin's another one that we like. So.
Shout out to the Mandarin.
Yeah, but there you go. There's
This is
we should do a food podcast.
We should. Well, no, we're doing too many podcasts already, Dave. That's your bountiful food review on the drive with Spence Checketts.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, Dave. Have a good one. The Salt Lake City Stars are playing the Timberwolves tonight.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. I'm a little disappointed that Ant-Man's not playing.
Yeah.
But I think Timberwolves still have enough to finish this one off.
Oh, you don't think Anderson Garcia can make Rudy a little bit uncomfortable?
I'm a little nervous about tomorrow, though.
What is that, Washington?
It's the Bucks, and Giannis is out.
Are you sure Giannis is out?
That's what I've heard.
Okay,
yes,
so there was a story earlier that the Bucks are trying to hold him out, and he wants to play.
Oh, really?
Which I think is awesome,
okay,
by the way.
Good for him, yeah. Well, and you know what? The fans here, you know that whole thing with the NBA and you can't sit stars, and a star is determined as somebody who's been an all-star in the last 3 years. That only applies to road games, and it's to benefit the fans who want to. What do you think the fans are coming to see tomorrow in terms of the opponent? They want to see Giannis.
No, they want to see
Mbek
Bang. Gosh, dude, it's so annoying.
But to point taken, I'm impressed that Giannis really wants to play because, I'm actually going to that game, and I'd like to see him play.
You're going to the game?
I am going to the game.
What, is Mikulich sick?
No. I'm not covering it.
Oh, yeah. You're going as a fan.
I'm taking some clients.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you were working it. I'm like, wait a second.
I'm not working it.
Because I know you would just assign that to somebody.
We don't do as much coverage on Thursday nights. You know why? You know why.
I know why.
Because there's no Talking Sports.
Because there's what?
It's Talking RSL.
It is Talking RSL.
So there you go. So we don't staff it live like we normally do.
Me and Dunny, 10:35, episode 5 coming up. Shout out my guy Kyle producing the program.
You're counting up the episodes even. Good for you.
So
Your episode 5. You getting more comfortable with it?
Yes.
Good for you.
Well, I mean, 100% compared to the first one. That was a wild experience, dude. I'm watching the show that night. I'm like, you look horrified. It's like dizzy with the IFB. Kyle's barking at me. Dunny won't shut up. Then I have to get to a read. I'm sweating. I'm like dizzy.
It's harder than you think, isn't it? And you were already like, I can handle this.
No. I never poo-pooed your role. I knew that there was going to be an acclimation period. But now we've got it rolling. Kyle and I, and who produced last week? That kid's a talent.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah.
Are you saying he's better than Kyle?
I'm saying Kyle and I are both learning together, Dave.
Okay.
Shout out Timmy.
Make a switch there.
You're not firing someone on air, Dave.
Well, no, you just reassigned.
We're not making production decisions on air either.
I just talked with Who, by the way. He is absolutely a rock star.
Yeah, who rules? So let's be clear. Yesterday was off the record.
Yeah,
we're not
cool.
allowed to talk about anything in detail. But I texted my guy Paul to make sure we're good to talk about this. The feeling up there, the feeling in the building, we were able to chat with coaches, chat with Morgan, a bunch of assistants. I'm a results over vibes guy. Okay. Whenever somebody says, hey, the vibes are good, I'm like, does that mean your team sucks? Yeah. But the vibes, as the kids like to say these days, for Utah football right now seem to be immaculate. Fair to say?
Well, if yesterday is what you're basing this on, we all sit down and start eating. By the way, great cafeteria up there. You got to have that nowadays.
What'd you have?
A lot pasta.
Lovely.
I love pasta.
You like yourself some pasta.
I mixed some steak into it and some spaghetti sauce.
Porter, you went with the beef stroganoff?
Porter sat next to me, by the way.
Yeah.
I kept moving to different tables, and he kept following
action.
me.
Go ahead. Sorry. Dave interrupts.
Little fettuccine action.
Lovely.
I get kind of stroganoff, but not really.
That's what I had. He followed me over there.
That's fine. Why are you picking on Porter today?
No, I'm kidding. He's great. We're Go Cowboys.
I went with the Greek yogurt and water.
Well, that's because you were about to go on the air. And you
Correct.
Can't. You don't eat.
You seem to forget sometimes I have a 4-hour obligation over here.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So
I don't think I could do that.
Maybe we could lighten up the load elsewhere.
Back to the vibe. I don't remember this ever happening with Witt. Now, part of the reason they're doing this is because it's kickoff season. They did it with Alex Jensen. But that was 5 or 6 media members sitting out on a table on a balcony and a pizza.
Mm-hmm.
This was totally different.
Yep.
And we all sit down, and what happens? All the assistant coaches come walking in, and they just sprinkle themselves throughout the different tables and start talking.
Yep.
And then Scally walks in. He fills up the plate. Actually came over to our table and sat down. And we started talking about we have some family history. His sister lives in my neighborhood, and we were talking a little bit about what a great athlete she is, way better than him.
Mm-hmm.
And it just very low key. It was a lot of fun. And then it transitioned to we all went down to the meeting room and what you were talking about.
No, it's off the record.
That part of the vibe was fantastic.
What I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
I was just saying that was the cool kids table.
Yeah, you and I were there, and who else was there?
Just you and I and Scally.
I was going to say, don't list the other names if you want it to be known as the cool kids table. Let's calm down for just a second.
But it was great. Somebody was actually sitting in that seat, and he got up to go get something, and Scally came over and sat in the seat.
Yeah.
He says, "Is anybody sitting here?" And we're all like, "Nope." Go ahead.
Love it. Well, you want the head guy at your table.
Yeah, he was terrific.
I know you got to go. If I gave you an over under of 8.5 for Utah football next year, what would you say?
I'm going to give him benefit of doubt because of the schedule, and we've all looked at the schedule, and it's not overly difficult.
Not on paper.
And I'm going to take the over.
You think 9 wins year one for Morgan?
Mm-hmm.
I think anything beyond 8 is a massive home run for him.
Huge win.
Yeah, year one. All right, well, I'm glad we were able to make some programming decisions.
Fun.
I'm glad you nearly fired a producer. I'm glad we learned how to box breathe, and everything, Dave, is going to be okay.
Most importantly, tomorrow night, talking RSL with Spence and Dunny, but more importantly than that, Friday, please tune in, 3:30 on Channel 2. It's actually on 3 stations. It's on KUTV, KJS, and KYU, the Spence Checketts Reality Check podcast with none other than Morgan Scally, head coach of the University of Utah football team.
Cannot wait for it, Dave.
Okay.
I want you to walk back to work, and the mantra is it's all going to be okay.
I got to
work on the box breathing.
Figure it out.
You're going to be okay. Okay, Dave, good to see you,
Thanks.
Bud. Dave Fox, KUTV. We made programming decisions on air. He nearly fired a producer. A little CarMax food review with Dave Fox, who puts his sunglasses on and is wearing them inside as he walks out. I will remind you of the Larry David quote. There are 2 types of people who wear sunglasses inside, blind people and a-holes. And you're not blind, Dave, so we'll leave that there. All right, we're going to get to the 5 o'clock hour of the show. I'll be on TV tomorrow night with Brian Dunseth talking Real, 10:35 KMYU, and then, the debut of my podcast Friday, 3:30 on CBS live between March Madness games. It's called Reality Check with Spence Checketts. Porter produced that for a long, long time. And it will be at 3:30, and you can hear it here as well on ESPN 700. All right, before we catch a break, my friend Shelly is live in studio from Wasatch Medical Spa once again. Hello, Shelly. How are you?
Hi, Spence.
Thank you for your time in studio. So Shelly runs a beautiful place in Mill Creek called Wasatch Medical Spa. Let's talk about this technology specifically and what makes it different from other treatments that men have tried in the past to improve their sexual performance.
Okay, so Apex RF is a radio frequency heat treatment. It's brand new. I'm the first in Utah to offer it. And it helps with mild to moderate ED as well as any sexual dysfunction. So 70% of men aged 40 to 60 or 40 to 70 have some form of ED. Maybe it's just they're not lasting as long or they're not as strong of erections. And those are the group of people that this treatment will help. So I have an all-women staff, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first got this technology, I had all the husbands come in and do the treatments so the women could learn how to do the treatments and the men could give us feedback on how well it works. None of the husbands thought they needed the treatments, but they were really good sports to go ahead and do the series. And every single one of them who did the series noticed improvements in size, girth, sensation, duration, and there was enhanced partner satisfaction as well. Neither myself nor my husband thought he needed treatments, and he went ahead and did them, and we have been surprisingly benefited by the treatments, both of us.
Yeah, and let me underscore that, because as part of our partnership with Wasatch Medical Spa, Shelley was good enough to offer me the treatments to go through myself, to which I responded to you, I don't need this. Is there any downside? And you said no. In fact, it could improve your current sexual function and also be preventative about things down the road, which I really, really like, right? Because if you can find something that's preventative, then you don't have to deal with the stuff down the road. So for our listeners who are currently suffering from full erectile dysfunction, this is absolutely for you. But for our listeners that are like me, that try to keep themselves in shape and fully functional, and you think, no, I don't need this, I can tell you, you may not need it, but it does work. I've done 2 treatments. I'm a very skeptical person. And after the first treatment, went to work, got home, got in the shower, and I went, oh, that's interesting. All right. And I'll leave that there. This is a family-friendly show. But I can give a personal endorsement, which is the great thing about you offering me to go through the treatment. You have a special deal for our listeners that really makes it a no-brainer if they get a hold of you today, Shelley. What is that?
So anyone who hears the show and mentions it will get not only the free consult that we do for everyone, but we'll get $300 off your first treatment, which is a 50% savings. You will need 4 to 6 treatments for your initial series, so that's $300 off that first treatment.
Yeah, no, it makes it a no-brainer. You're going to save a grip of money. So $300 off, and I can tell you it's a very comfortable process. It actually feels good. You almost will go to sleep like I did today. It's a beautiful place. It's in Mill Creek. The staff is awesome. All women. They make it very comfortable. It's not awkward at all. So $300 off, free consultation, no obligation. Here's what you do. You book online right now at wasatchmedicalspa.com. Don't wait, wasatchmedicalspa.com. It's wasatchmedicalspa.com. Book your consultation. Tell them you heard this spot. They're going to give you $300 off, and the consultation is free with no obligation. Shelley, great to see you.
Thanks, Spence.
Okay, 3 hours down, 1 hour to go. Last hour of the program is next on ESPN 700. All right, final segment of the show. Wrapping it up. I misbehaved with the clock, so we're going to say goodnight. But before we do, you want to win $1 million bucks, one bracket, $1 million. The ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM $1 Million Bracket Challenge is live. Sign up today on ESPN700sports.com. It's brought to you by Big Willie's, Game Day Men's Health, Intermountain Bobcat, Budweiser, the Intermountain Sportsman's Expo, Burger Fusion, and the Utah RV Super Show. Speaking of the Utah RV Super Show, come say what's up tomorrow, but we do have a short show. We'll be out there for a few hours. So, Porter, what comes our way on a Thursday edition of the program?
As you mentioned, a short edition of The Drive out at the RV Super Show. Stop by, say hello. Brian Dunseth stops by the program. Howard Beck stops by the program. We are off at about 4:15 for Utah women's basketball, but we'll have NCAA tournament stuff to cover live.
There you go. Special thank you today to Chris Kamrani, Spencer Linton, Pablo Mastroni, and Dave Fox. If you missed any of it, ESPN700sports.com. Grab our app in the App Store, ESPN 700 app, then check out our podcast page. It is called The Drive with Spence Checketts. It's available wherever you get your shows. He's Porter. I'm Spence saying goodnight. Talk to you tomorrow right here on ESPN 700.